Chapter 1840. 1840. In the dusty history of 1840, the disciples of the Dragon Gate once fought for him. Now that he was strong, he naturally had to help his former subordinates. Moreover, helping his former subordinates was a piece of cake for him. Mo Yuan walked out to gather the disciples of the Dragon Gate. Mo Qinglong stood by the side and kept talking to Wang Xian about everything that had happened in the past few years, including the changes on Earth, including some of Wang Xian's family and friends. Sister Li, who got married 14 to 15 years ago, now had a child who was already 13 to 14 years old. Wang Xian's only in-name disciple was taken in as a disciple of the Ling Shao Treasured Palace when it had just ascended. The former sect masterling of the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect, and the rest were also taken in as disciples of the Ling Shao Treasured Palace. As Mo Qinglong spoke, he brewed a cup of tea for Wang Xian. Wang Xian sat there quietly and listened. Meanwhile, Yao Nu sat quietly at the side and watched Huarakaiyar. However, she was extremely shocked. What shocked her was not the other things, but the emerald green branch that Huarakaiyar was holding. When her hand touched the branch, a vast amount of wood vitality and sharpness was transmitted into her body. She was even certain that as long as she sat cross-legged and cultivated, she would be able to achieve a breakthrough immediately by relying on this branch. If she held on to this branch for a long time, her strength would reach a terrifying level. A subordinate can kill a divine son with a casual blow, kill a demigod expert, and casually buy a demigod-level pet egg for his daughter to eat. An incomparably vast pressure, able to send a person out with a casual wave of his hand. What kind of existence is he? Dragon Palace? Dragon King? Yanwan's heart was racing when she heard their words. She couldn't think of the names Dragon Palace and Dragon King even if she racked her brain. She really wanted to use her phone to check, but she didn't dare to do so while sitting here. The mysterious Dragon King in front of her made her feel extremely powerful. Grandpa, what happened to Xiaoji? Didn't you take him to Master Mo? At the same time, in the center of the ancient land was the Song Corporation. Next to the Song Corporation's building, in an extremely luxurious villa. When Elder Song carried his grandson into the villa, a woman walked over. When she saw her grandfather and brother, she was slightly stunned and quickly walked over. It's okay. This kid needs discipline. Elder Song shook his head. He had already checked his grandson's injuries and found that he did not sustain any injuries. However, he might be unconscious for a day or two. Grandfather, who injured Xiaoji? Elder Mo? HMPH, this is too disrespectful to me. Song Hanyu. This time, if Brother Feiyu did not invite the seniors of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace, how could he let Xiaoji take him as his master? Song Hanyu's face was frosty as she spoke, her body emitting the aura of a strong woman. All right, Hanyu, this matter is over. Elder Song shook his head and said in a deep voice, Oh, it's Grandpa. Song Hanyu saw that her grandfather's face was solemn, and she also restrained her aura. Towards her grandfather, even if her strength was now stronger than her grandfather's, her heart was still filled with respect and fear. Tomorrow, I'll bring you to visit someone. Elder Song looked at his granddaughter, a tall and slim beauty with a good figure and a first-class face. He suddenly had an idea and said, Visit someone? Song Hanyu was slightly surprised, but then she frowned. Grandfather, I'm afraid it won't be possible for the next 2 days. Brother Han Feiyu and a few other powerful disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace are coming over. I'm going to entertain them for the next few days, so I can't leave. Grandpa, I'm going out to welcome them now. You can push the disciples from the Lingxiao Treasured Palace away tomorrow. Come with me to visit someone first. It's settled then. Elder Song pondered for a moment and said in a strong voice as he walked into the villa, Grandpa. Song Hanyu opened her mouth slightly and frowned. She found that her grandpa was a little strange today. In the past, he always talked to her with a tone of discussion. Why was he like this today? However, before she could think too much about it, her phone rang. She looked at the name on it and immediately smiled. She quickly walked out. Master, Master. When Elder Song entered the villa, the servants saw that he was holding Song Shanji, and quickly came up to him. Yes, just put Xiaoji in the room. Elder Song was thinking about some problems expressionlessly in his mind. He walked to the chair in the room and sat down. According to our report, heaven and earth are crying. The ocean is mutating, and the downpour is falling without warning. It seems that a god has fallen. According to our reporter from the Myth Channel, we have confirmed a shocking news. The Spirit Sea Palace has disappeared at the bottom of the ocean. Some disciples of the Spirit Sea Palace are kneeling in the sky above the ocean in grief and indignation. Now, it is basically confirmed that the sea god has fallen. A god has fallen. This is... A message suddenly appeared on the TV that was turned on in front of him. Elder Song suddenly raised his head and stared at the report on the TV. His expression changed slightly. He immediately took out his phone and opened the forum. The world is shaking. The sea god has been confirmed dead, and the sea god palace has disappeared. The death of a god, the death of the sea god, and the wailing of heaven and earth. Which god killed him? According to speculation, the death of the sea god should not be the work of the other four major forces. Could it be that Earth has given birth to an expert who can kill a god? Elder Song read the posts one by one, and after opening them, his expression changed. What a shock! A godly tycoon has appeared at the east gate of the Jade Lake ancient land. He bought a demigod-level pet egg for his daughter with 300 million high-grade spirit stones. A godly tycoon has appeared out of nowhere. Who exactly is this expert? My daughter said that she wanted a demigod-level pet egg, so she bought it casually. My daughter said that she wanted to eat it, so she cooked it directly with a photo attached. After the death of the sea god, it is suspected that the son of God of the Lingxiao treasure hall has fallen. The mystery of the death of the peerless heaven's favorite, the 9 heavens. Among the countless posts about the death of the sea god, there were 2 more topics that were more eye-catching. Elder Song hesitated for a moment and opened it to take a casual look. However, when he saw the post of the god tycoon appearing out of nowhere, he took a deep breath after looking at the pictures inside. Although the pictures only had the back and only the back, he could be 100% sure that it was the Dragon King and his group. The sea god fell as soon as the Dragon King appeared. He bought a demigod pet for his daughter to eat with a wave of his hand, and the divine son who died in the Jade Lake ancient land. Was everything a coincidence, or... Elder Song pursed his lips and felt his current strength again. His face revealed an excited expression. His body trembled slightly, and he leaned on the chair and exhaled heavily. In his mind, the dust-laden history of the Dragon King was revealed one scene after another, and each scene was clearly replayed. Chapter 1841. 1841 and 1841's long history. Daddy hug, daddy hug. On the top floor of Imo Qinglong's villa, 2 little girls were running towards Wang Xian barefooted. Yao Nu, who was following closely behind them, was holding onto the god-striking twigs in her hands. All right, you're done bathing, right? Go to your rooms and sleep. Call me if you need anything. Wang Xian looked at the 2 little ones who had just showered. He stroked their heads and said to them, "No, daddy hug. Daddy hug." The 2 little ones stretched out their arms reluctantly and looked at him with their big watery eyes. All right, all right. Facing his 2 adorable daughters, Wang Xian's heart was extremely tender. He held them in his arms with one hand and the other. Are you hungry? Do you want to eat something? Wang Xian sat on the chair and placed them on his lap. When he was done talking to Imo Qinglong, he had brought over quite a lot of food. Unfortunately, the 2 little fellows didn't eat any of it. Eat delicious food. Huar clapped her hands and said as she stomped her feet. All right, I'll show you what's here to eat. Wang Xian took out his interspatial ring and took a look. He had some fruits at the insightful void tier and demigod tier. Other than these, there were also some meat. The meat of the dragons from the supernatural continent was all at the demigod tier and was extremely precious. Eating these foods would bring great benefits to ordinary people. Other than that, he had also obtained a lot of resources and treasures from the Divine Sea Palace. The most precious thing was the heaven's marrow water. It was a very viscous liquid that contained a huge amount of energy. To water elemental cultivators, it was a priceless treasure. This heaven marrow water weighed more than 10 kilograms and was considered a treasure of the godly state. There were also many other treasures, such as spiritual herbs and fruits. All of you sit here first. Wang Xian poured some heaven marrow water for each of them and roasted a piece of dragon meat. Sir, I'll feed the little princess and the rest. Yao Nu, who was standing at the side, walked over and asked respectfully. All right. You feed the flowers. I'll feed Kair. Wang Xian nodded and gave her the food. I want daddy feed. I want daddy feed. Huara shouted. All right. Wang Xian smiled. There were two little girls. One was extremely mischievous, while the other was extremely ladylike. The difference in the personalities of these two sisters was too huge. Yao Nu held the food and felt the powerful energy fluctuation from it. Her heart was shocked again, especially the liquid that was emitting a divine light in the cup. She couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. After feeding the two little guys, they were soon sleepy. Wang Xian and Yao Nu placed them on the bed. You take care of them in the room. You can use them to cultivate when you have nothing to do. Wang Xian looked at Yao Nu, who was standing at the side, and said to her, Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yao Nu hurriedly called out respectfully. Her eyes were filled with excitement. She didn't expect that the proud daughter of heaven, who was high and mighty, would become like a maid in just one day. Okay. Wang Xian nodded his head and walked out. He wasn't worried that the two little girls would be in danger. There were two star grass protecting their heads. Without the help of the gods, no one could hurt them. Wang Xian went to the living room and opened the computer on the table. The current computer was completely different from the previous one. It was even more high-tech. He opened the forum that Yao Nu had told him about today and browsed through the information on it. When he saw the posts on the forum one by one, a faint smile appeared on his face. In the entire forum, 70% of the posts were about the fall of the sea god, 15% were about the mysterious tycoon, and 15% were about the fall of the son of God. Every post was related to him. He skimmed through the new posts and browsed through the old ones with great interest. It felt like he was reading a novel in the past. While Wang Xian was reading the posts on the forum, Yao Nu did not cultivate immediately in the room inside, even though she had the powerful Zun Shan by her side. At this moment, she took out her phone and searched for a message with a curious expression. Dragon Palace, Dragon King. 2 keywords. When the messages appeared one by one, a surprised expression appeared on her face. Later, a shocked expression slowly appeared on her face. Are these real or fake? Could it be that the memories of some of the people above are real? Her eyes widened slightly, and her eyes were filled with shock. The Earth's metamorphosis. The computer once ushered in a huge revolution, and the computers of the past were abandoned. The computers of today all had information from the recent years. However, there were still some people who had entered the information in the encyclopedia. Among them, there was information about the Dragon Palace and the Dragon King. Some people over the age of 30 or 40 should understand what the word Dragon King means. I finally know why I feel that this name is somewhat familiar. So, the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace, who has been around for more than a decade, is the overlord of Earth, an invincible existence. Yao Nu muttered to herself, looking at the deeds of the Dragon King. Her face was filled with shock and awe. Let's follow him for the time being. Yao Nu gave up on the last thought of escaping. She looked at the flowers on the bed with envy. Following that, her eyes flickered as she stared at the god-beating branches in front of her. A night passed very quickly. Wang Xian spent the entire night reading all kinds of information and didn't sleep. However, early in the morning, many excited figures entered the villa. There were a total of 49 draconids, including the Devil Abyss and the demonic Azure Dragon. Initially, there were 51 draconids, including the demonic Azure Dragon. 2 of them died in the middle. Greetings, Dragon King. When Wang Xian arrived at the villa, the 49 draconids immediately knelt on the ground and shouted loudly. Get up. Wang Xian swept his gaze across them and waved his hand with a smile on his face. A powerful force made them stand up immediately. He sat on the sofa at the side and looked at all the faces. Over the past 10 years, some of them were fathers with a trace of benevolence and vicissitudes on their faces. The strength of the Draconids was not very strong. The only ones at the see-through level were the demonic Azure Dragon and the demonic Abyss. The rest of the Draconids' disciples were mostly at the level of level 7 to the peak of transcendence. If they were placed on Earth, they would still be considered strong. Only those who had obtained the opportunity were slightly stronger than them. Back then, I used my bloodline to make all of you submit to me. The fact that all of you possess the divine dragon bloodline is unchangeable. However, the strength of my bloodline was too weak back then. It was too weak. This time, I will reward all of you again. As Wang Xian spoke, he waved his arm. Drops of divine dragon bloodline that contained powerful energy flew towards them. At that time, the power of his bloodline was too weak. If the group of Draconids were to absorb his bloodline again, their strength would receive a huge boost. This could be considered as the reward that Wang Xian had given the group of Draconids for the past 10 years. It would also give them a place to stand. Chapter 1842. 1842. Whose era does this belong to? Thank you, Dragon King. The 49 Draconids knelt respectfully in the living room of the villa. Their faces were filled with excitement. Drops of dazzling divine dragon's blood floated in front of them. With Wang Xian's current ability to kill and ignite 3 wisps of divine fire, the power of his bloodline was extremely huge. Moreover, just now, he injected drops of heaven's marrow water and some demigod-level elixirs into his bloodline. This drop of blood contained a power comparable to that of a demigod. Buzz. The 49 Draconids knelt on the ground. It was just like how Wang Xian had injected his bloodline into them more than 10 years ago. They were slowly absorbing it. Qitian, inject your cultivation experience regarding the darkness attribute into their minds. Wang Xian brewed a cup of tea and ordered Ao Qitian, who was beside him. It's the Dragon King. Ao Qitian nodded. With a thought, 49 strands of hair fell on their bodies and fused into one with them. Ao Qitian's hair was not ordinary hair. No matter what, Ao Qitian was a god who could kill a wisp of divine fire. His hair and his understanding of the darkness attribute were comparable to ordinary gods. There were no reserved gifts. Only gods would do this to their own children. Even if it was to their disciples, they might not be unreserved. Boom, boom, boom. When the group of Draconids absorbed the divine dragon's blood and Ao Qitian's hair, waves of powerful aura emanated from their bodies. The strength of the extraordinary Draconids shook violently. They had reached the insightful void stage directly and were improving at a terrifying speed. Wang Xian sensed the strength of the Draconids and stood up. He walked to the kitchen. He took out the dragon meat and fried it briefly. Then, he started to taste it casually. Phew! An hour later, the demonic Azure Dragon was the first to open his eyes. His eyes were filled with excitement. Thank you, Dragon King. He knelt on the ground respectfully and shouted at Wang Xian. Wang Xian waved his hand and continued to play with his phone. Soon, the Draconids woke up one by one. Their bodies were filled with powerful energy. The weakest of them had reached the peak of the see-through void stage, while the demonic Azure Dragon Abyss had reached the demigod stage. Furthermore, they had not completely absorbed the energy. Once they had done so, they would all be able to reach the first level of the demigod stage. The group of Draconids revealed an excited look on their faces. Among the heaven's chosen divine sons, 90% of them were not as strong as them. The only ones who could match up to them were the group of powerhouses who had descended from the Lingxiao treasured palace. How many of our brothers are already married and have children? Wang Xian looked at the group of happy Draconids and asked with a smile on his face. Dragon King, your subordinate. Your subordinate is married and has a boy. Dragon King, your subordinate is also married and has a 7-year-old girl. Dragon King. The Dragon Gate disciples reported respectfully. Bring your loved ones and children over for a gathering when you have time. Let me meet them too. Wang Xian said to them. Yes, it's the Dragon King. The group of draconids nodded with a smile. Grandpa, who did you bring me here to visit? The seniors from the Lingxiao Palace are already here. I wanted to bring them here today. While Wang Xian was conversing with the group of draconids, Elder Song brought his granddaughter to the entrance of the villa. Song Hanyu frowned and spoke to her grandfather impatiently. She looked a little anxious. You'll know when you arrive. You must be respectful later. Elder Song reminded her again and again. Grandfather, who is it? Song Hanyu frowned. Don't speak. Elder Song waved his hand at her before shouting respectfully into the villa. Dragon King, Song Qingshi from the Song family, is here to pay his respects. He took a deep breath and shouted into the villa. Song Hanyu, who was standing at the side, widened her eyes when she saw her grandfather's attitude. Huh. Wang Xian, who was in the room, heard the sounds from outside and looked around. Tell them to come back in a few days. Wang Xian said to Imo Qinglong. It's the Dragon King. Imo Qinglong nodded and walked out immediately. Elder Song, the Dragon King is not free at the moment. I will inform you in a few days. Imo Qinglong walked out and said to Elder Song when he saw him. It's fine, it's fine. Any time is fine. Elder Song waved his hand. Oh, right, Elder Song, if it's convenient. I'll have to trouble you to help me find a villa. It would be best if it's quiet. Imo Qinglong continued to speak to Elder Song. Sure, sure. Leave such a small matter to me. Elder Imo, please send my regards to the Dragon King. Elder Song patted his chest and promised with a smile. Okay. Imo Qinglong nodded with a smile and walked into the villa. At the door, Elder Song's eyes were filled with excitement. It seemed to be a great honor to be able to serve the Dragon King. However, Song Hanyu, who was standing at the side, frowned, her eyes shining. Grandpa, what's going on inside? Hanyu, you go to your own thing first. I'm going to take care of some things. Song Hanyu was about to speak when Elder Song interrupted her, turned around and left after thinking for a while. Now he was thinking about where to get a luxurious villa for the Dragon King. Grandpa, she opened her mouth slightly and called out. Then she turned around and looked at the villa of the Azure Dragon Demon. She thought for a while and then moved. A purple cloud appeared under her feet and flew toward her own villa. Bang, bang, bang. Bastard! Where's my grandpa? Where's my grandpa? Just as she returned to her room, she heard the sound of something being smashed. Xiaoji! She heard the sound and entered the villa with a frown. When she saw the broken teacup on the ground, she looked at her younger brother. Xiaoji, you're awake. Song Hanyu looked at her younger brother who had just woken up and walked over. Sister, you have to avenge me. The Dragon King dared to attack me yesterday. Sister, you have to avenge me. Seeing his sister come in, Song Shanji immediately shouted aggrievedly. His sister had always loved him very much. It was because of his sister that he had his current status. What's wrong, Xiaoji? Yesterday, Grandpa took you to be his disciple. What exactly happened? Tell me and I will avenge you. Song Hanyu stroked his head with an ice-cold expression and said lovingly, Sister, it's that Dragon King. He was the Dragon King of Jiang City. He was the one who attacked me. It's him. Did Grandpa avenge me yesterday? Song Shanji said angrily. Dragon King? Dragon King? Song Hanyu had just heard this name from her grandfather. Now that her brother reminded her again, she felt a little familiar. In her memory, this name existed. She took out her phone and immediately started searching. When she saw the information on it, her expression changed slightly. Sister, I realize that my strength has actually regressed. It's all because of that Dragon King. Sister, you have to avenge me. Song Shanji's angry voice came from the side. No wonder grandfather acted so strangely. However, the Dragon King has already become history. Grandfather is also a little old and muddle-headed. The sky now belongs to our generation. It belongs to the Lingxiao treasured palace. What Dragon King? It has already become the past. Song Hanyu looked at her younger brother and gently stroked his head. Don't worry, Xiaoji. The current Jiang city is the territory of our song group. As she spoke, she slowly turned off her phone. The song group was taken down by her. She would tell everyone whose territory this was. Whose era is this? Chapter 1843. 1843 Draconid Fearless One. Butler Liu, go and investigate that Dragon King for me. Find out all the information about him and control his every move. In the Song family's villa, Song Hanyu sat on a chair with a dignified expression and asked a middle-aged man in front of her. Miss, where's the master? The middle-aged man stood in front and asked with a slight frown. I will tell him about my grandfather's side. Go. Song Hanyu said expressionlessly. Yes, miss. The middle-aged man nodded and immediately walked out. Sister, he actually dared to attack me. I want to teach him a lesson with my own hands. Song Shanji's eyes flickered with a cold light as she shouted in a low voice. Brother Han Feiyu and the disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace are here. I will bring you to interact with them for the next few days. This time, let Brother Feiyu see if he can find a master for you. In that case, Xiaoji, you can join the Lingxiao Treasure Palace. With your talent, you can make a name for yourself by joining the Lingxiao Treasure Palace. Song Hanyu turned to her brother and said, Sister, is Brother Feiyu here? Let's go find him. Song Shanji's face lit up and he said quickly, I'm afraid I can't do it today. I've already told Brother Feiyu that I don't have time today, so I can't go over again. Let's go tomorrow. Song Hanyu shook her head. Dragon King, you don't know that 29 and 46, these two guys have a boy and a girl, and they even arranged a baby marriage. What era is this? They even arranged a baby marriage. Haha, at the very least, we already have a wife and a child. What about you guys? You don't even have a girlfriend? Only a lunatic would find a girlfriend. How carefree and free you are now. Haha. In Imo Qinglong's villa, the group of draconids gathered together and chatted happily. Wang Xian also spoke from time to time. This atmosphere made him very happy. You guys are not young anymore. It's time for you to find a girlfriend. Wang Xian smiled and said to a few draconids who were obviously slacking off. Yes, it's the Dragon King. We are not in a hurry now. A few draconids immediately said with a smile. Wang Xian had just told them to relax and not be so restrained. Now that they had chatted for more than an hour, the group of draconids gradually let go. Daddy, Daddy. At this moment, Huar and Kair's voices could be heard from the stairway. Huh. The group of draconids was slightly stunned. They immediately stood up and looked at the two little girls respectfully. No matter what, identity was identity. It was the first time they met the little princess, and they had to kneel down. Come here, come here. Wang Xian raised his head and looked over. A hint of astonishment flashed across his eyes. Compared to yesterday, the flowers and Kair had obviously changed a lot. If they looked like one-year-olds yesterday, they looked like two-year-old children now. The two little ones could already walk quickly. Yao Nu, who was at the side, was obviously following behind them in astonishment. She didn't expect that the two children would grow up so quickly in just one night. However, Wang Xian was not too surprised. After all, these two girls could not be treated as ordinary babies. They were the resurrected ancient gods. Daddy. Huar quickened her pace and ran toward Wang Xian with her arms wide open. Greetings, princess. In the hall, the draconids immediately knelt on the ground respectfully. Yeah. Huar, who was running over, was slightly shocked. Rise. However, the little girl was stunned for 2 seconds. She waved her hand and looked extremely familiar with her posture. Huar, who was waving her hand, seemed to have forgotten what she was doing. She continued to spread her arms and pounced on Wang Xian. When he saw Huar's actions earlier, Wang Xian's eyes sparkled. Could it be that my memory is slowly recovering? He was deep in thought. Daddy, Daddy, kiss. Huar ran over and immediately kissed Wang Xian's face. Following that, she happily climbed onto Wang Xian's neck. It seemed like she had a soft spot for peeing. Daddy. Kyra also trotted over. She spread her arms and begged her cutely for a hug. The two little fellows who looked almost identical looked extremely cute. As he looked at them, some of the things in his mind were thrown to the back of his mind. He carried Kyra up dotingly. Are you hungry? What do you want to eat? Wang Xian asked them with a smile. I'm not hungry. I'm not hungry. The little fellows on top shook their legs. I want to go out and play. Go out and play. She sat on Wang Xian's neck and hugged his head as she shook it. All right. I'll bring you out later. Wang Xian looked at the clothes on them. Due to the rapid growth, Yao Nu could only condense a green dress with the wood attribute. Although it fit well, it could not be compared to professional clothes. All of you, get up. Wang Xian looked at the draconids who were still kneeling and waved his hand. It's the Dragon King. The two little princesses are so beautiful. The group of draconids smiled and nodded. Dragon King, I have some toys for my son. If the little princess doesn't mind, let them play with them. One of the draconids bowed slightly and took out a few small toys with a smile on his face. Daddy, I want to play with them. The extremely mischievous flower immediately stretched out her small hand and shouted. All right, give them to the little princess. The draconid smiled and handed over the toy in his hand. The flower took the toy and immediately giggled. Buzz, 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 buzz. At this moment, the draconid's phone that handed over the toy kept trembling. He frowned slightly and closed it without a trace, but his voice kept ringing. I'm sorry, Dragon King. He bowed and retreated backward. He took out his phone and took a glance. However, his retreating body soon froze. Anger flashed across his body, and his expression changed drastically. Wang Xian was slightly stunned when he saw the change in his subordinate's aura. He took a glance, and the information on his phone fell into his line of sight. This draconid had hung up a lot of calls just now. Now, this was the 20th message. What's wrong, Lao Jiu? Mo Yuan walked over and patted him on the shoulder. He, who had already advanced to the demigod realm, could also sense that something was wrong with Emojio. Emojio, you go and settle the matters at home. I'll bring the two little fellows to the mall to buy some clothes. Bring your family over for a gathering in 2 days. Wang Xian stood up and carried Kyra. There were flowers hanging on his head as he smiled and walked out. Yao Nu hurriedly followed behind him. Ao Jian and Ao Qitian followed as well. That's right. Wang Xian paused after taking a few steps. Although the Dragon Gate has been disbanded, you are still my subordinates. As my subordinates, the people with the divine dragon bloodline, we will not steal, rob, bully, or humiliate anyone. Similarly, we will not fear anyone. On this earth, no one can bully us. Whoever bullies us will be repaid tenfold. Not even the gods. After saying that, he brought the two little fellows out of the villa's door. Chapter 1844. 1844 draconids are fearless too. A calm voice reverberated throughout the hall of the villa. In the room, the draconids trembled slightly when they heard Wang Xian's words. Looking at the back view of the two children who were leaving, all the draconids had a look of awe on their faces. We shall obey the order of the Dragon King. Mo Qinglong took the lead and bowed to Wang Xian's departing figure. As you command, Dragon King. All the draconids were moved and grateful. Wang Xian's words represented his approval of them. As people with the divine dragon bloodline, they would not steal, rob, bully, or humiliate others. As the rules set by the Dragon King, they would not violate them in the slightest. Emojio, what happened? Mo Qinglong looked at Emojio and asked immediately. Leader, it's not a big deal. I can handle it myself. Because of his own matter, Emojio was a little embarrassed. Lowering his head, he said, It's just that my kid was sparring with a classmate in the academy and injured him. The other party seemed to have some strength and severely injured my kid and sent him to the hospital. This is still a small matter? He actually heavily injured Lily. Does he really think that we are easy to bully? Whoever makes a move will be repaid tenfold. Upon hearing his words, A cold expression appeared on Emo Qinglong's face. Fuck. Lai, that little fellow's talent is quite good. He actually dared to seriously injure my godson. Come, let's go and kill them. A draconid beside him revealed a stern expression as he coldly shouted. The group of draconids had experienced more than 10 years of fighting side by side and were already as close as brothers. Now that someone dared to attack their relatives, how could they let them off so easily? There's no need. Now that the Dragon King has increased our strength, I can handle it with my own strength. Emoji shook his head. Third, fourth, fifth, 15-6, you guys go with ninth to handle it. If there's any problem, immediately notify us. Emo Qinglong immediately ordered them. It's leader. Go, go. Someone actually dares to bully Happy. Let's go and cripple them. The 4 draconids patted Emoju's shoulder and shouted with icy cold faces. Emoju revealed a trace of a smile on his face and nodded heavily. The group of 5 immediately walked out. Among us, only that brat Emoju married a girl from a neighboring province and had no choice but to settle down there. After this, let him come to River City. This will be more convenient. A draconid saw them leaving and said with a smile. The rest of the draconids nodded in agreement. Do you know the biggest shopping mall in Jiang City? Go buy some clothes for the 2 little guys. After Wang Xian walked out of the villa, he asked Yao Nu, who was beside him. I know. The Tianda Group Square is now the most famous square in every city. We can go there. Yao Nu nodded her head. Let's go. I'll bring the 2 of you to buy new clothes. Wang Xian shook the 2 little guys on his body and said with a smile. New clothes, new clothes. The 2 little guys were obviously very happy. They looked around with their pure eyes and kept shouting. Tianfeng City was a city that had just been built not long ago. Even if it had just been built, Tianfeng City was much more prosperous than Jiang City. Most importantly, Heavenly Wind City was built on an ancient land. The ancient land was called Heavenly Wind Ancient Land, an area covered by a green gale. In Heavenly Wind City, 5 or 6 powerful groups rose up because of Heavenly Wind Ancient Land. Moreover, a Heaven's Pride was born in Heavenly Wind Ancient Land, known as Heavenly Wind Heaven's Pride. Heavenly Wind Heaven's Pride was ranked 9th among all the Heaven's Pride and had extremely powerful connections. The area of the Heavenly Wind Ancient Land was about 200 kilometers, while the area of the Heavenly Wind City was about 1,000 kilometers. The entire city was bustling with activity. Ninth brother, which hospital are you happy to be in now? In the sky, 5 draconids were flying towards the Heavenly Wind City at full speed. As they looked at the city below, Emosen asked him, in the Central Hospital's intensive care unit. Emoju's expression was a little awkward. Although the current hospital had been completely reformed, the intensive care unit still represented that the injuries were extremely serious. Intensive care unit? Looks like Happy's injuries aren't light. Damn it. This time, no matter who the other party is, we have to teach them a lesson. We aren't so easy to bully. The draconids' faces were gloomy as they spoke with ice-cold expressions. We're here. Emoji looked down and immediately landed on the ground. He ran anxiously into the hospital. Brother Jiu, you're finally here. Our son. He hasn't left the safe period yet. When they arrived at the ICU on the 13th floor of the hospital, a delicate and pretty woman pounced on them with a face full of tears as she cried out in grief. Sister-in-law, sister-in-law, Demon 3, Demon 4, and the others shouted as they looked at Demon 9. Come, let's go in and take a look at Louis. Don't worry, Louis will be fine. Demon 9 patted his wife's shoulder as his gaze turned towards the parents-in-law in front of him. They walked directly towards the serious illness room. With the flourishing of their cultivation, the current serious illness room was no longer as closed as before. Are you the child's father? Your child suffered a heavy blow to the head and a heavy blow to the chest. There are no doctors in our hospital who can treat him, so we can only use pills to keep him alive. If you can't find a strong person to treat him, I'm afraid. A nurse in the intensive care unit was recording the situation as she spoke to Emojio and the others. Let's take a look. When Emoju saw that his breathing was weak and his son's vitality was weak, blue veins popped up on his face. He looked at his brothers and immediately walked over. Everything will be fine. The four Draconids and Emoju walked over and placed their palms on Lu Yi's body. Damn it! Who did this? Sister-in-law, where is the person who hurt him? Emo-15 sensed Happy's injuries, and a trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes. He shouted with a vicious tone, "It's the Sun family. I went to the school. The school said that the students would spar normally and were happy to break the other party's arm. In the end, the other party's parents came directly in the afternoon and were happy to be seriously injured. The school has shares of the Sun family. They said that there's nothing they can do. Let us settle it ourselves." Emoji's wife's parents were honest old men. Their eyes were red and their faces were full of anger as they spoke. Damn it! Emoji's eyes revealed killing intent. He had seriously injured his son and nearly killed him. This enmity was irreconcilable. FUCK, what Sun family, Olgio? Let's treat Happy first. We'll go and ask them for an explanation. A few Draconids revealed cold expressions in their eyes. If it was before, they might be afraid of a powerful family group. But now, with the increase in strength and the presence of the Dragon King, they weren't afraid at all. We don't provoke people, but if someone bullies us, we'll pay them back tenfold. Draconids aren't afraid. Chapter 1845. 1845 Draconid Fearless 3. Brother Jew, forget it. It's enough as long as Happy is safe. We can't afford to offend the Sun family. When Emoji's wife heard her husband and his brother's words, she said anxiously, "Little Jew, don't be rash. The most important thing now is to let Happy recover as soon as possible. These damn bastards, we shouldn't provoke them." Emoji's wife's parents also spoke with an embarrassed expression and sighed slightly. The Sun family, the Sun Group in the Windy City. Although the Sun Group's influence in the Windy City wasn't ranked among the top few, it wasn't something that ordinary families could compare to. In addition, it was rumored that the Sun family had been ranked in the Windy City group recently, so it wasn't something that they could contend against. Sister-in-law, uncle and aunt, don't worry, leave this matter to us. 15-6 and the others looked at each other, their faces revealing a trace of coldness. We'll treat Happy first. Yes. Emoju nodded, and waves of energy were injected into his son's body. If it was in the past, with his extraordinary strength, he wouldn't have been able to do anything to his son's current injuries. But now, he could easily treat them. With the help of a few brothers, it wouldn't take long for him to completely heal. In the current academy, even if it was a child sparring, his arm or leg would be easily broken. The school would immediately heal him. The path of cultivation was filled with danger. Even if his arm was cut off, he could still reattach it, not to mention ordinary fractures. This time, his son was nearly beaten to death, causing Emoji's heart to be filled with anger. He could not swallow this anger. Oh, you guys actually managed to heal your injuries. What great strength. The nurse at the side saw that Lu Yi's expression was quickly recovering, and a surprised expression appeared on her face. Brother Gio. Emoji's wife also approached him with a face full of nervousness. It's all right. Lu Yi's injuries can be healed. Emojio consoled his wife. Soon, Happy, who was lying on the hospital bed, called out in a low voice and slowly opened his eyes. Daddy. He looked at his father in front of him and called out softly. Daddy, uncle, grandparents. He then looked at the people beside him and called out obediently. All right, I've completely recovered. A smile appeared on Emo-san's face as he rubbed Happy's head. Get up. Emoji directly carried Happy down from the bed. Little Gio, Happy is just fine. When Emoji's parents-in-law saw Happy stand up, they immediately said with heartache, Dad, Mom, it's okay. Happy has completely recovered. Emoji said to them, Go, Happy. Who hit you? Today, Dad will make him pay tenfold. Emoji lowered his head and looked at his son, holding his hand as he said, Brother Gio, you? When Emoji's wife heard his words, Her face instantly became nervous. Sister-in-law, don't be afraid. Leave it to us. Today, no matter who the other party is, we will pay a heavy price for this matter. 156 said firmly to her. You have a trace of the divine dragon's bloodline. You must remember, the possessor of the divine dragon's bloodline. We will not steal, rob, bully, or humiliate others. But if others bully us, we will definitely let them know the price. Emoju lowered his head to look at his son and said firmly, Yes, father. Happy to see his father's gaze, he nodded firmly. Ever since he was sensible, he had heard his father say more than once that he had an extraordinary bloodline. Since young, he had also displayed extraordinary talent in cultivation and had always been in the lead in the entire academy. He was very proud of this. Let's go. Emoju held his son's hand and walked out directly. The corners of the mouths of the 3 devils, for devils, and 15-6 devils curled up slightly as they followed closely behind. The expressions of Emoju's wife, father-in-law, and mother-in-law changed slightly. Father and mother, don't worry. Brother 9 said a few days ago that the Dragon King has returned. He went to pay his respects to the Dragon King early this morning. Emoju's wife's expression changed as she looked at her parents, who were a little pale, and said softly, Dragon King. The 2 of them were slightly shocked. Let's go. We'll follow little 9. The 2 old men immediately followed behind. He was very clear about the Dragon King. Even if they were once ordinary people, they had experienced that era and had also heard of the legend of the Dragon King. The Sun Group is located in the Eastern District. All the members of the Sun Group live in a row of villas by the river next to the group building. Lo-E, what's the name of the person who beat you up? The group walked out of the hospital. Emos and held his phone in his hand and searched for information one by one. He asked Li, Uncle, it was Sun Jiahong's father who beat me up? Li said weakly, It's the 4th son of the Sun Group, Sun who is known as the 4th master of the Sun Group. After Li finished speaking, Emo-san immediately found the information. Let's go. We can go directly to the Sun Group. Okay. Emoju nodded, his eyes flashing with a cold luster. The Sun Group was a small group among the large groups in Heavenly Wind City. However, even if it was a small group, it was not something that ordinary people could afford to provoke. The Sun Group had 5 insightful Emptiness Realm experts overseeing it. They made a living by selling some of the resources in Heavenly Wind Ancient Land. 5 insightful Emptiness Realm experts were not considered weak in a city. The Sun Group's building was 40 stories high. It rose from the ground and was extremely magnificent. At the entrance of the group, a middle-aged man in a suit was patrolling, showing the dignity of the group. At this moment, at the front of the group building, 5 middle-aged men and a child were walking toward the building. Behind them, there were 2 old men and a delicate young woman. The group walked into the building and swept their eyes across the area before walking towards the front desk. Hello, how can I help you? The beauty at the front desk asked with a smile. Call Sunhu over, Emoju said with an ice-cold expression while holding the hand of Happy who was standing in the middle. Sorry, you need to make an appointment to see our CEO, son. The beauty at the front desk was slightly stunned as she said indifferently, Sunhu, get out here. However, just as the voice of the beauty behind the counter fell, Emo-16, who was at the side, slowly looked up. A voice instantly resounded throughout the entire building. What are you guys doing? Security. The beauty was slightly stunned as she hurriedly shouted with a gloomy face. Without him shouting, the surrounding middle-aged men in suits ran over and locked onto Emoji and the others with ice-cold faces. At this moment, on the top floor of the building, a middle-aged man with a strong build was sitting in the room. Beside him, a young woman and a 10-year-old child were playing by the side. When the voice came from below, the middle-aged man was slightly stunned. Hubby, what happened? A young woman with an internet-famous face raised her head and asked with a frown. I don't know who's looking for death. I'll go down and take a look. The middle-aged man with a strong back and a strong waist was Sun Hu, known as Sun Si. He walked out with a gloomy face. Hubby, we'll go with you. Chapter 1846. 1846 Draconid Fearless 4. Who are you? How dare you cause trouble in our Sun Corporation? Inside the Sun Corporation building, security guards dressed in suits ran in and instantly surrounded Emojio and the others. A middle-aged man waved his arm and a metal rod appeared in his hand. He stared at them coldly. Dad, Brother Gio. The expression of his wife, who was happy to be with Emojio, changed slightly. She leaned closer to Emojio. Leave it to us brothers. Emo-san patted Emojio's shoulder and told him to stand still. His gaze swept over the 20-plus security guards around him and a disdainful expression appeared on his face. Get Sun-Hu to come out. Emo-san and the others took a step forward proudly and shouted coldly again. You're courting death. You actually dare to let our fourth master come out. A bunch of trash. Beat him up. The middle-aged man holding the metal rod revealed a cold expression as he gestured to the people beside him. Our fourth master is also someone you can call him. The group of people instantly held the rod in their hands. Their eyes revealed a ruthless expression as they directly attacked them. In today's world, the strong ruled. As long as you were strong, you could kill anyone. In many cities, there were experts from the Lingxiao Treasured Palace maintaining order. If a massacre occurred, they would act to stop it. However, they would only stop it. They would not normally participate in it. Pong! A young man swung his club towards Emo-san. His face did not reveal the slightest fluctuation. He lightly clenched his arm and directly grabbed the young man's arm. Bang, bang, bang. He lightly waved the arm that was holding the young man. Ah! The sounds of collisions and screams rang out as more than 20 security guards fell to the ground. If Emo-san were to be ruthless, he would be able to easily kill these transcendent-level security guards. Who's calling me? At this moment, a rough voice rang out. The muscular Sun-Hu walked out of the elevator with a hint of killing intent. Behind him, the young woman was leading a similarly muscular youth. Your Sun-Hu? Emoji looked at Sun-Hu and narrowed his eyes slightly. Who are you? Sun-Hu's cold gaze swept past Emojio and looked at the security guards who were lying on the ground. Dad, it's that little bastard. Just as he finished speaking, the muscular youth's words sounded behind him. He extended his finger and pointed at Louis, his face filled with ruthlessness. Oh! Sun-Hu looked over, his face revealing a trace of surprise. You bastard, you haven't died yet? You've actually recovered so quickly? Sun-Hu, a child is sparring at school, but you, an adult, actually made a move and almost killed my son. Emoji's face revealed a trace of killing intent when he heard his words. A child is a child's business. An adult is an adult's business. You've gone too far. Haha, so you're this dog's father. Why? Did you bring your son here to ask for a beating? Sun-Hu looked at Emojio, his face revealing a disdainful smile. He knew that the child's family that he had beaten was just an ordinary family. Even before the Earth's metamorphosis, with his energy, he could just beat them up. Not to mention now, his Sun family was not very clean in the past. After the Earth's metamorphosis, they obtained some small opportunities and quickly established themselves in Heavenly Wind City. Not long ago, his little sister was listed in the Heavenly Wind Group. This made him even more unscrupulous in Heavenly Wind City. Other than the people from the Ling Xiao Treasured Palace, he did not dare to provoke anyone else in this territory. I'm glad that I almost died in your hands. Next, if you can last 5 seconds in my hands, I'll let bygones be bygones. Emoji slowly let go of Happy's arm and walked towards Sun-Hu. Ha 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 ha, I think you're courting death. Sun-Hu revealed a funny expression and could not help but laugh out loud. Fourth brother, what's wrong? At this moment, a group of people walked out of the elevator once again. A middle-aged man who looked similar to him looked over and asked indifferently. Haha, second brother, it's a small matter. If someone wants to die, I'll give them 10%. Sun-Hu laughed out loud as if he didn't care at all. As he spoke, he also slowly walked towards Emojio. I might be a little lenient towards a little thing, but you? He opened his mouth, revealing his dense teeth as he clenched his huge fist. Die for me. You actually dare to come to our Sun group and seek death." As he spoke, he raised his fist and attacked Emojio, his face filled with ruthlessness. 1. Emojio looked at the attacking Sun Who with a calm expression as he lightly counted. Pong! Ah! When Sun Who's fist came to Emojio's side, he lightly clenched it, and his arm shook. The sound of bones breaking instantly sounded. "Go and die." Feeling the immense pain on his arm, Sun Who's expression changed drastically. He knew that he had encountered an expert. Boom! His body shook, and the pressure of an insightful emptiness realm expert rushed out in all directions. Behind him, the shadow of a fierce tiger slowly condensed. "Divine ability Tiger Roar." He roared, and the 5-meter-long fierce tiger behind him stared at Emojio coldly. 2. Emojio's extremely calm voice rang out again. He pulled lightly, and Sun Who's body rushed toward him, giving him a rib attack. Crack, crack, crack. The sound of his chest breaking rang out, and the fierce tiger behind him instantly dissipated. Pooh! A large mouthful of blood was spat out from his mouth. 3. At this moment, the sound rang out once more. Emojio lifted his right leg lightly, and it landed on his left leg. Ka ka ka. The sound of his left leg breaking rang out once more. Ah! The incomparably painful screams continued to ring out. Damn it! Stop right there. Sun Who's second brother saw his younger brother's miserable state, and his expression changed drastically. Sun Who was an expert at the profound void tier, yet he was actually unable to put up any resistance in the other party's hands. He knew that his younger brother had encountered a tough opponent. His figure moved, and a large saber appeared in his hand. He was prepared to make a move. Wong! Right at this moment, an ice-cold gaze locked onto him, causing his expression to change slightly. He turned his head and looked ahead. He saw a middle-aged man staring at him indifferently. Oh no! His expression changed slightly. 4. Ka ka ka. Ah! At this moment, the cold sound of bones breaking and screams came from ahead again. Both legs were broken. 5. Ah! The voice continued to ring out. Sun Who's right arm was directly broken. You bunch of damn bastards, let go of my husband, let go. Behind him, Sun Who's wife was like a shrew as she ran towards Emojio with a ferocious expression. She stretched out her claws, and a poisonous green color appeared on them. I don't teach my parents sins. I don't like to torture women, so? Behind them, Emo-15 saw the poison on the shrew's claws, and a cold glint flashed in his eyes. He waved his arm, and a terrifying demonic aura directly landed on her chest. Pong! Her entire body flew backwards and landed beside their child. Her eyes were wide open, but there was no sound at all. Chapter 1847. 1847, Draconid Fearless 5. Wow, Mom, Dad. A cry filled with fear rang out. The robust youth looked at his former mother's corpse with a terrified expression on his face. The youth who was a little ferocious earlier was now trembling. What? How dare you? Sun Who's second brother saw his former sister-in-law's corpse, and his pupils constricted. A shocked expression appeared on his face. 6. Bang, crack. Several calm sounds continued to be heard from the area in front, followed by the sound of bones breaking. You guys. At this moment, Sun Who's face was filled with fear. He glanced to the side and listened to his son's cries. His body began to tremble. 7. Bang. 8. Bang. Sun Who's body trembled more and more violently. His eyes were filled with despair. At this moment, he couldn't even open his mouth. There wasn't a part of his body that wasn't pink. He could feel that his life force was rapidly disappearing. Looking at the incomparably calm, middle-aged man in front of him, he was filled with disbelief. According to his understanding, the kid he beat up was only from an ordinary family. Why did his father have such terrifying strength? If he knew, how could he still dare to beat up that little thing to the point of death? Stop! At this moment, second brother Sun who was at the back, saw his younger brother who was about to be beaten to death. His face was filled with fury, and he couldn't help but rush over. He held the large saber in his hand and directly slashed towards Emojio. "You're courting death." At the front, Mo15's figure came to a halt. Sun Hu's second brother flew backwards at an even faster speed. Bang! Their bodies landed on the wall and directly smashed through the wall. They stared at the calm Mo15 with a face full of shock. "How is this possible? Your strength?" The middle-aged man looked at Mo15 in shock. His face was filled with disbelief. This time, they had met an existence that they could not fight against. "Gio. Pooh-pooh." At this moment, that cold voice sounded again. He endured the intense pain in his body and looked up. At this moment, his second brother was like a puddle of soft mud. Blood kept spurting out of his mouth. He died before 10 seconds had even passed. Emoji's voice sounded once again. He looked at Sun Hu in his hand, and with a casual wave of his hand, he landed in front of the youth. "Father." At this moment, the youth had completely collapsed, kneeling on the ground and crying out in pain. "Since you are a child, I'll spare your life. We're even now." Emoji looked at the youth and said coldly. After saying that, he turned his head and looked at his son. "We don't bully others, but if someone bullies us, we will pay them back tenfold." The calm voice in Lu Yi's mind caused his eyes to be filled with worship. "Heh, some people really think that we are easy to bully. Let's go." Emosi smiled coldly. If the Dragon King had not returned, even if Louis had not died, he would have suffered injuries and might even have died. 10 times the payback, killing 2 people was considered light. Back then, the Dragon Queen was seriously injured, and the Dragon King had almost massacred half of the Jianghu. At that time, it was the Draconids who had done it. They had been living a low-key life for more than 10 years, and with their strength, they really could not be high-profile. But now that the Dragon King had returned, they might not be as aggressive as before, but if anyone dared to provoke them, they, the Draconids, naturally wouldn't show any mercy. Although the Dragon Gate was disbanded, the people with the Divine Dragon bloodline were still there. They're so strong, so strong. Sunsai is an expert at the profound void realm, yet he doesn't have the strength to resist at all. He came here and directly killed Sunsai and left. Who are they? A shocked voice came from the surroundings. The Sun Group's security guards and the front desk staff all had frightened expressions on their faces. Fourth Master Sun was also a figure in Heavenly Wind City. He was killed so easily. Ching Ching go. Emoji once again held his son's hand and held his wife's shoulders as he said gently. He looked at his in-laws and faintly nodded. Go, go. The 2 old men vented the anger in their hearts and smiled. If you want to take revenge, we will accept it at any time. But if you dare to play some tricks, the next time, we will flatten your Sun Group. Emo San's gaze swept across the surroundings, and his cold voice entered everyone's ears. You, Sun Xiong, who was slowly standing up from the ground, stood up with an ugly expression. When he saw the corpses on the ground, his expression turned cold. Emojio and his group walked out indifferently. Hua hua hua. However, just as they walked out of the entrance of the building, luxurious cars suddenly drove over. The 4 latest Audi models in front could withstand the attacks of experts below the profound void tier. The 3 Rolls-Royces in the center were the latest models that could withstand the attacks of powerhouses below the void interpretation stage level 5. The Rolls-Royce in the center was a 15-meter-long extended version. At the back, there were Audi cars that were exactly the same as the first 4. Luxury cars, real luxury cars. Even if they were placed on Earth today, they were still luxury cars that only the rich could afford. The car stopped. Bodyguards in black suits walked out of the Audi in front of them. They quickly ran to open the doors of the Rolls-Royce. An old man with a walking stick with a dragon head walked out. The old man walked to the Rolls-Royce in the center and greeted the middle-aged men inside with slight respect. The middle-aged men walked down with smiles on their faces. The group of them walked towards the Sun Corporation. The old man with a walking stick was slightly surprised when he saw Emojio and the others walking out. His eyes looked towards the building. This bunch of brats, why aren't they coming out to welcome us? The old man looked towards the direction of the building. When he saw that his sons didn't come out to welcome them, his face revealed anger, and he shouted with full confidence, "Father!" At this moment, Sun Xiong, who was standing in the building with an embarrassed expression, changed his expression and hurriedly walked out. "Father, father, fourth brother was killed. Fourth brother was killed by them." Sun Xiong's entire body was in an extremely miserable state. There was a pool of blood that was spat out from his chest as he roared angrily. "What?" The old man, who was laughing and chatting with the middle-aged men beside him, changed his expression when he heard the voice coming from the building. He looked over and saw his second son, who was in a sorry state. His gaze then turned towards the center of the building. In an instant, his eyes turned red. The most painful thing for a person was no different from sending someone else off. "Oh!" The people beside the old man also frowned slightly. They killed him? Suppressing his violent anger, the old man holding the dragon-headed walking stick pointed at Emojio and the others who were walking outside. "It's father. It's them. They are very powerful." Sun Xiong immediately replied loudly, "They dare to kill my son Ritian's son. I will exterminate his entire clan. Surround them." A furious voice filled with killing intent sounded from Sun Xiong's mouth. Chapter 1848. 1848. A single hair and a sword. At the entrance of the Sun Corporation building, when one luxurious car after another drove over here, they had already attracted the attention of the surrounding people. Emojio and the others walked out indifferently. "You dare to kill my son Lai Tian's son. I will exterminate his entire clan. Surround them." When Sun Lai Tian's violent voice sounded, the surrounding people revealed shocked expressions. "Brother Gio, little Gio." Emojio's wife and parent Sinlaw's eyes revealed fear when they heard this. They looked at him worriedly. "You don't know life from death. Leave it to us." Emo-san and the others revealed killing intent in their eyes. "Surround them." Hua hua hua. At this moment, the surrounding bodyguards in black suits surrounded them. Their bodies emitted a powerful aura. Of course, this power was only seen by ordinary people on Earth. A group of transcendent level 8-9 and peak experts surrounded them in the center. Emo-san and the others swept their gaze across the group, revealing contemptuous expressions. "Brother Zhou, everyone is sorry. I have to settle some matters first." Sun Lai Tian's arm trembled as he held onto the dragon-headed walking stick. His eyes were slightly red as he spoke to the others, and he slowly turned around. His slightly red eyes were filled with killing intent. "Father, their strength is very strong. It should be above the 7th or 8th level of the profound void martial stage, or even higher." Sun Xiong came to his father's side and said in a low voice with an embarrassed and solemn expression, "Above the 7th or 8th level of the profound void martial stage?" Sun Lai Tian's body trembled, and a trace of shock appeared in his eyes. The violent aura just now had decreased rapidly. If it really was above the 7th or 8th level of the profound void tier, then it was completely not something their sun group could deal with. Wanting to take revenge was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. How could Xiaohu provoke such an existence? "I thought you were strong. Since you dare to say such arrogant words, I'll give you all 5 seconds to step aside. Otherwise, all of you will die." Right at this moment, Emo-san's voice sounded, and waves of powerful aura were emitted from his body. The powerful pressure caused the expressions of the surrounding bodyguards to change drastically, revealing a terrified expression. Emo-san swept his gaze across all of them, and his eyes revealed a look of disdain. They had thought that they would be experts, but they were just a few 5th-level profound void tier elders. Want to destroy them? What a joke. I wonder, everyone, what grudge does Sun Lai Tian's son who, have with all of you, for you to kill him? Sun Lai Tian's expression changed. When he heard Emo-san's words, his expression darkened. He suppressed the anger in his heart and asked in a low voice, "Hee, that reckless thing almost killed our nephew. We have already given you a way out by not exterminating your entire clan. Don't be ungrateful." Emo-san said coldly to Sun Lai Tian, filled with disdain. He still wanted to exterminate their entire clan. What a joke. Imo-san's strength made Sun Lai Tian's face extremely gloomy. His body trembled as he stared at Imo-san and the others. What happened? It seems that those few people came to the Sun Group building and killed Sun Siyi. What? Sun Siyi was killed? Didn't Elder Sun want to fight them to the death? That group of people seems to be very strong. Look, the bodyguards of the Sun Group are trembling. When the people around saw what happened to the Sun Group, they were shocked and started discussing. In the eyes of ordinary people, the Sun Group was also considered a wealthy family. At the main entrance of the Sun Group, Sun Lai Tian accompanied the middle-aged man who came in. When he saw this scene, he frowned slightly. At least 7th or 8th level of the Profound Void tier, the Sun Group has encountered an expert. When did these experts appear in our Heavenly Wind City? Should we step out? The middle-aged men whispered to each other. 5 seconds have passed, aren't you going to step aside? Imo-san looked at the gloomy Sun Lai Tian and lost his patience. He glanced at the surrounding bodyguards and said coldly, "Gulp." All the bodyguards felt Imo-san's imposing manner and beads of sweat appeared on their foreheads. However, they could only clench their fists and stare at them since they didn't hear the order. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Puff, puff, puff. Another 5 seconds passed. This time, a trace of killing intent flashed in Imo-san's eyes as he waved his devil flames around. Ah! Miserable shrieks rang out as more than 10 bodyguards were instantly killed by Imo-san's attacks. Do you really think that we are ants? You can step on us if you want to. Do you really think that we don't have any dignity? Boom. Imo-san's powerful aura directly covered Sun Lai Tian. It was filled with a brutal and violent aura, causing Sun Lai Tian's face to instantly turn pale. What? His expression changed drastically, and a trace of fear flashed through his eyes. Every expert had their dignity, and it wasn't something that a weakling could provoke at will, especially someone like Sun Lai Tian. If he didn't have the strength and still didn't allow others to move aside, he was simply courting death. When everyone around saw this scene, their faces revealed shock. The Sun Group today would probably lose face. In-laws, Brother Zhou? When Sun Lai Tian saw the incomparably powerful Imo-san and the others, his eyes turned blood red. His youngest son had been killed, yet the murderer was still so domineering and disdainful, causing his breathing to become somewhat hurried. He looked at the middle-aged man behind him, clenched his fist, and shouted in a low voice, "Brother Sun, even our Heavenly Wind Group has to be wary of a 7th or 8th level void interpretation expert." The old man in the middle said slowly with an expressionless face, "At least a 7th or 8th level void interpretation expert. If their Tianfeng Corporation wanted to deal with them, they had to be cautious. Moreover, they did not know the other party's background. Brother Zhou, if you are willing to take action, I will give you 8 portions of the things in the Tianfeng ancient land." Sun Lai Tian gritted his teeth and said with a malevolent expression, his Sun clan had found a treasure ground in the Tianfeng ancient land. After the Tianfeng clan found out about it, in order to obtain 3 portions, they agreed to a marriage alliance with the Sun clan and promised many benefits. Taking out this condition made Sun Lai Tian's heart ache. 8 portions. The eyes of the old man in the center shone with a fiery glow as he exchanged glances with the middle-aged men beside him. "Uncle, with what we obtained in the Tianfeng ancient land, even a peak of the Profound Void martial stage can deal with it. It's worth it. Moreover, there's still young Master Tianfeng." The middle-aged men nodded their heads with interest. The old man in the center also nodded his head silently. "The Sun family is the in-laws of our Tianfeng group. If someone kills our in-laws, our Tianfeng group cannot sit idly by. I am Zhou Hongyun of the Tianfeng Corporation. Whoever killed the son of our in-laws just now is here to commit suicide." The old man in the center, Zhou Hongyun, slowly walked out and stared at Imo-san and the others as he said proudly, "Tianfeng Corporation was the largest corporation in Tianfeng City. Even in the entire East, it was a powerful corporation that could rank in the top 15. Chapter 1849. 1849 1849. One hair, one sword. The Sun Group might not have the right to make them pay with their lives when facing a 7th or 8th level insightful void martial artist. However, the Tianfeng Group had this strength, and they also had this qualification. Zhou Hongyun, the number 3 figure of the Tianfeng Group, I didn't expect him to be here. The people of the Tianfeng Group are also here. It seems that the marriage between the Sun Group and the Tianfeng Group is a fact. With the Tianfeng Group standing up for the Sun family, those people are unlucky. The number 3 figure of the Tianfeng Group, Director Zhou, has the strength of a 7th-level profound void martial artist, and the entire Tianfeng Group has 70 to 80 profound void martial artists. Most importantly, Tianfeng Tianjiao is here. The Tianfeng Group, which has more than 10,000 subordinates and 70 to 80 people, is an overlord-level existence. Even if the other party has a 7th or 8th level profound void martial artist, they are going to fall. Just when everyone thought that the Sun Corporation would lose face this time, a voice suddenly appeared, causing their faces to reveal a shocked expression. When they looked at the meticulously combed back hair of the old man, their faces revealed a reverent expression. The number 3 figure of the Heavenly Wind Corporation held great power and possessed great strength. Heavenly Wind Corporation, not good. What about Little Jiao and Little Jiao? When Imo Jia's parents-in-law saw Zhou Hongyun, they revealed a frightened expression and said in a daze. The Heavenly Wind Corporation was like thunder in the entire Heavenly Wind City. They were like a huge mountain, overlooking the entire Heavenly Wind City. Parents-in-law, don't worry. Emoju also slightly frowned. Living in Heavenly Wind City, he naturally knew the Heavenly Wind Corporation's strength very well. Heavenly Wind Corporation. I didn't expect the Heavenly Wind Corporation to interfere. Are you afraid of them? TSK. Their strongest Heavenly Wind prodigy is only at the peak of the profound void martial stage. Standing in front, Imo-san had naturally heard of the Heavenly Wind Corporation's name. If it was in the past, they wouldn't dare to offend them. But now, even if they were facing the 9th-ranked Heavenly Wind prodigy, they weren't afraid at all. Your Tianfeng Corporation wants to keep us here. Imo-san looked at Zhou Hongyun, his eyes flickering with a sinister expression. It's only right and proper to kill someone to pay for their life. In front of our Tianfeng Corporation, you'd better surrender. Zhou Hongyun's face revealed a faint smile. Die. You dare to kill my son, Sun Lightion? I'll cut you into 1,000 pieces. From the side, when he saw the Tianfeng Corporation attack, a ferocious expression appeared on his face. If you want to kill us, go to hell. Facing the high and mighty Tianfeng Corporation, Imo-san also went berserk. Did they really think that they were easy to bully? Roar. With a wave of his arm, violent dark energy surged, and in an instant, a 1,000-meter-wide dark dragon head condensed. The dark dragon head let out a roar and directly attacked Zhou Hongyun and the rest of the Tianfeng Corporation. You don't know death. Zhou Hongyun's face turned cold, and with a shake of his arm, 5 green sharp swords appeared behind him. With a wave of his arm, the sharp swords brought along wind blades the size of 1,000 meters and went to meet the dark dragon head. Oh no, let's fight. Let's retreat quickly. The destructive power of the profound void tier is extremely terrifying. Retreat. Retreat. When the surrounding spectators saw the sudden outbreak of the battle, their expressions changed slightly and they hurriedly retreated. Pung pung pung. Oh no. However, in the middle of the battle, when Zhou Hongyun's 5 green longswords collided with the head of the dark dragon, they immediately collapsed, causing his expression to change drastically. Peak of the profound void martial stage. He's an expert at the peak of the profound void martial stage. Jin Hongyun felt the power coming from above, and his pupils constricted slightly. Dodge his attack, send out a distress signal immediately. He hurriedly roared loudly, and his body moved, hurriedly dodging to the side. What? The expressions of the Heavenly Wind Corporation experts around him changed drastically. Damn it, the peak of the Insightful Emptiness Realm is actually the peak of the Insightful Emptiness Realm. So. A middle-aged man hurriedly took out a signal flare and threw it into the sky. The signal flare instantly shot into the sky and stood clearly in the sky 10,000 meters high. Everyone in Heavenly Wind City could see it clearly. It was the Heavenly Wind Corporation's unique distress signal. Boom. Ah! The attack of the Dark Dragon head landed in front of the Sun Family building. Several middle-aged men of the Heavenly Wind Corporation who didn't have time to dodge let out a scream and died instantly. The ground began to shake, and a deep pit the size of 1,000 meters appeared in front of the building. How is this possible? When Sun Tion saw this terrifying attack, his scalp went numb, and a terrified expression appeared on his face as he roared crazily. I didn't expect it to be an expert at the peak of the profound void martial stage. Sun Tion, the Heavenly Wind Ancient Lands item. Our Heavenly Wind Corporation wants 9 portions. So what if it's an expert at the peak of the profound void martial stage? If he dares to oppose our Heavenly Wind Corporation, he will die. Zhou Hongyun looked over and also let out an angry roar. He took out a stone plate from his interspatial ring with a pained expression. On the stone plate, there were more than a dozen green longswords. With a toss of his hand, one green longsword after another flew out and attacked Emo San and the others. The stone plate looked very extraordinary. More than a dozen green longswords quickly formed a sword formation and floated around Emo San and the others. Zhou Hongyun originally thought that the other party was only a profound void tier level 7 or 8 expert. He could easily kill him with the treasures he obtained in the Heavenly Wind Ancient Land. However, he didn't expect that his opponent was at the peak of the profound void martial stage. However, even if he was at the peak of the profound void martial stage, he could still kill them with the treasures in his hands. However, it wasn't what the Heavenly Wind Group wanted to see him become the enemy of a peak of the profound void martial stage. Since we are enemies, let's get rid of them once and for all. Zhou Hongyun waved his arm, and the 18 sharp swords burst out with a terrifying sharpness as they attacked Emo San and the others. What powerful weapons! They can actually attack on their own. Emo San felt the sharpness of the 18 sharp swords, and his face revealed a look of surprise. Together. Good, he lightly shouted, and the 4 devils, 15 devils, and 16 beside him immediately responded. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, 3 incomparably terrifying auras came from their bodies. Attack! Their bodies were emitting terrifying demonic chi as they attacked the 18 sharp swords. Another 3 black dragon heads let out earth-shaking roars. What? 4 peak of the profound void martial stage. Zhou Hongwei's shocked voice came from his mouth, and his face was filled with disbelief. Oh no, for peak of the profound void martial stage, how is this possible? The other middle-aged men of the Tianfeng Corporation were also shocked, and fear appeared in their eyes. The surrounding spectators were also shocked. 4 experts at the peak of the profound void martial stage were enough to destroy Tianfeng City. Everyone was shocked. Pung, pung, pung. 18 sharp swords flew in all directions under the attacks of Emo San and the others. The violent aura and monstrous demonic chi caused the hearts of everyone in the Skywind Corporation to sink. They had kicked an iron plate. If this was not handled properly, it would be a devastating disaster for the Skywind Corporation. Chapter 1850. 1850 a hair and a sword 3. At the entrance of the Sun Corporation building, the sound of a violent battle could be heard. The 4 experts at the peak of the profound void martial stage shocked everyone around them. However, at this moment, the signal flare of the Tianfeng Corporation in the sky attracted everyone's attention. Located at the top of Tianfeng City, the Tianfeng Corporation building, which occupied an area of over 10,000 square meters, was the landmark of the entire city. On the top floor of the Tianfeng mansion, there was an extremely luxurious hanging garden, which was extremely luxurious. May I know why the seniors are looking for me? In the hanging garden, a tall and slender young man with handsome features stood in front of the crowd. The young man was dressed in white, and the words Tianfeng were written on his chest. The hundreds of people standing in front of him wore golden armor, and each of them contained a majestic power. It's really surprising that they came to investigate some things. The outside world thought that Tianfeng Tianjiao only had the strength of the peak of the insightful void realm, but they didn't expect. The middle-aged man in the lead looked at Tianfeng Tianjiao in surprise. What? Tianfeng Tianjiao was shocked, and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. He immediately said respectfully, Shui Tianjiao's discerning eyes saw through this kid's cultivation with one look. With Tianfeng Tianjiao's strength, he can totally join the Lingxiao treasure hall. The leader, Shui Tianjiao, said indifferently to Tianfeng. Join the Lingxiao treasure hall? Tianfeng was slightly stunned, and then a hesitant look appeared on his face. Joining the Lingxiao treasure hall had great benefits, but there were also bad things. With his previous strength, he could also join the Lingxiao treasure hall, but he didn't join. The fifth divine sun has fallen. With your strength, if you join the Lingxiao treasure hall, you should be able to get his position. Shui Tianjiang said with a smile. What? Tianfeng Tianjiao's face shook, and a burning look flashed in his eyes. The position of divine sun? There were only 10 divine suns in the Lingxiao treasure hall. If one wanted to become a divine sun, he had to defeat the divine suns on the god sealing list. Those who could become the divine sons of the Lingxiao treasured palace were all terrifyingly powerful. They had the best weapons, the best resources, and even the strength to challenge people of a higher level. Even though he had secretly made a breakthrough in his strength, he had never thought about the position of divine sun because he was afraid of unforeseen circumstances. If he joined the Lingxiao treasured palace, the gains would not be worth the losses. Now, the heavenly general of the heavenly troops and generals of the Lingxiao treasured palace had invited him and said that he could obtain the position of the divine sun. This made him extremely excited. It was good to enjoy the shade under the big tree. Under the big tree of the Lingxiao treasured palace, as long as there were no special circumstances, it would be very difficult for the divine sun to die. High and mighty, heavenly general Shui, is what you said true? Tianfeng Tianjiao asked somewhat excitedly. There will be a huge change on Earth, and the number of divine suns will increase by 10. You have my recommendation, and with the death of the fifth divine sun and your own strength, you can skip the test. It's 100%, right? Tianfeng Shui nodded with a smile and looked at a middle-aged man beside him. Follow Tianfeng Tianjiao and protect his safety. Also, if Tianfeng Tianjiao wants to go to the Lingxiao treasured palace, bring him there. Yes, heavenly general. The middle-aged man next to him immediately nodded and replied. Thank you, General Shui, for your kindness. I, Zhou Tianfeng, will definitely repay you heavily in the future. Zhou Tianfeng's face was filled with excitement as he bowed his body, his eyes burning with passion. No need to thank me. With your strength and talent, you are worthy of my friendship. Shui Tianjiang said with a smile. Zhou Tianfeng stood up excitedly. At this moment, he saw the signal flare that belonged to the Tianfeng Corporation on the right side rise up, striking the sky. This caused him to frown slightly. The signal flare was usually released when the upper echelons of the Tianfeng Corporation encountered a crisis. Shui Tianjiang, I have some matters that I might need to take care of. Zhou Tianfeng looked at the signal flare and said, Sure, we have a mission too. General Shui Tianfeng nodded. Zhou Tianfeng bowed and flew toward the signal flare. The middle-aged heavenly soldier followed behind him. This made Zhou Tianfeng's eyes burn. This was a first-level demigod heavenly soldier. Only true divine sons had demigod-level guards to protect them. Although he didn't need a first-level demigod to protect him with his strength, this was a symbol of his status. Someone dares to provoke my Tianfeng Corporation in Tianfeng City. He doesn't know death. Zhou Tianfeng looked in the direction of the Sun Corporation's building with a hint of disdain in his eyes. Go to hell, what bullshit Tianfeng Corporation. At this moment, a violent sound came from the front, and terrifying demonic flames soared into the sky. Demonic snakes rolled in the sky, covering an area of more than 10 kilometers. An attack from the peak of the profound void martial stage. Zhou Tianfeng's expression changed slightly when he saw the terrifying attack in front of him. Tianfeng genius, do you want me to take action? Right at this moment, Tian Bing's voice came from the side. No need. Hearing his words, a wanton smile appeared on Zhou Tianfeng's face. Ever since I broke through, I've been concealing my strength. Today, I'll let everyone witness it. An excited expression appeared on his face. He opened his palm, and a green box appeared in his hand. He opened the box, and there was a green sharp sword the size of a finger inside. Heaven's sword sealed box, Heaven's sword hidden edge. Zhou Tianfeng flicked it lightly, and the two sharp swords inside directly attacked the rampaging demon snake in the sky. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two sharp swords flew out and rapidly enlarged, and in the blink of an eye, they arrived above the rampaging demon snake in the sky. Whoosh! 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 The sharp edge that tore through the air directly cut off the heads of the demon snakes one by one, and the darkness slowly dissipated. At this moment, in front of the Sun Group building, Demon 3, Demon 4, and 156, 4 felt the demon chi in the sky dissipate, and their expressions changed slightly. In front of them, Zhou Hongyun, the Tianfeng group, Sun Lai Tian, and the others watched with pale faces and despair. For experts at the peak of the profound void martial stage, even the treasures in Zhou Hongyun's hands could not withstand them. What awaited them was the fury of those at the peak of the profound void martial stage. Just when they thought that the monstrous demonic snake would kill them, the demonic chi suddenly dissipated, causing them to be slightly shocked. It's Tianfeng. Tianfeng is here. Young Master Tianfeng is here. Everyone from the Tianfeng Corporation was excited when they saw Zhou Tianfeng. Tianfeng Tianjiao is here, the 9th ranked on the prodigy roll. Those 4 middle-aged men are too terrifying. They are all at the peak of the profound void martial stage. Even Tianfeng Tianjiao is no match for them. Everyone who was watching the battle was shocked. Seeing the appearance of the Tianfeng prodigy, everyone started discussing. Zhou Tianfeng's arrival might not be able to change the current situation. They had provoked 4 experts at the peak of the profound void martial stage this time. The 9th rank prodigy? Emo-san and the others raised their heads and looked over. Their eyes revealed a grave expression. The 2 sharp swords of the opponent had easily broken their attack, causing them to instantly sense it. This Tianfeng proud son of heaven, strength is very terrifying. Chapter 1851. 1851. A single hair and a sword 4. This Tianfeng prodigy is probably much stronger than the rumors. Emo-san reminded the Draconids beside him in a low voice. The Draconids nodded and stared solemnly at Zhou Tianfeng, their eyes shining. Tianfeng. At this moment, in front of them, a group of people from the Tianfeng Corporation hurriedly flew into the sky. Zhou Hongyun didn't even care about the sharp swords scattered around him as he flew over in fear. What's going on? Zhou Tianfeng glanced at Emo-san and the others below and asked indifferently. Tianfeng, they killed Elder Sun's son. We wanted to avenge them, but we didn't expect that they were 4 experts at the peak of the profound void martial stage. Zhou Hongyun came to Zhou Tianfeng's side and lowered his head with an extremely embarrassed expression. Tianfeng, we are in big trouble. The 4 experts at the peak of the profound void martial stage were not something they could fight against. So south. At this moment, the members of the Tianfeng group rushed over from all directions. The signal flares in the sky caused all the members of the Tianfeng group to gather in this direction. Young Master, Director Zhou, who dares to provoke our Heavenly Wind Corporation? When the members saw them, they immediately flew over and shouted respectfully behind them. Their gazes landed on the positions below and on the eye-catching Emo-san and the others. For peak of the profound void martial stage. When Zhou Tianfeng heard Zhou Hongyun's terrified voice, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. What? 4 experts at the peak of the profound void martial stage? When the members of the Tianfeng group behind him heard Zhou Hongyun's words, They were slightly shocked, and their aggressive aura instantly fell. Tianfeng, we are not their match. Think of a way. Zhou Hongyun continued, but before he could finish his words, Zhou Tianfeng waved his hand and interrupted him. For experts at the peak of the profound void martial stage, with such strength, I wonder what faction you guys are from. Zhou Tianfeng's body moved and landed on the ground, sizing up Emo San and the others. Tianfeng prodigy, it seems like you are much stronger than the rumors. Emo San and the others stared at Zhou Tianfeng warily and said lightly, Haha, then you guys, kneel down. Zhou Tianfeng laughed out loud. He was in a great mood as his body trembled. An incomparably powerful pressure swept downwards. Boom, boom, boom. Like a powerful airwave, the rocks that had been shattered by the battle earlier flew towards the surroundings. The incomparably terrifying aura caused the expressions of Emo, San, and the others below to change slightly. Including Emojiu, the 5 of them hurriedly waved their arms, and waves of demonic chi blocked the position in the sky. Emoji's family members huddled together nervously. Oh, Tianfeng's strength? Young Master's strength? Has he broken through? Above them, everyone in the Tianfeng Corporation felt Tianfeng Tianjiao's aura. They were slightly stunned, and their bodies trembled. Zhou Hongyun and the others stared down with burning eyes, extremely excited. If he had broken through, so what if he was at the peak of the profound void martial stage? What? Tianfeng Tianjiao broke through? First-level demigod? Doesn't that mean he can be ranked in the top 3 of the prodigy role? This is so powerful. I thought Tianfeng Corporation would be defeated this time. I didn't expect Tianfeng Tianjiao to have already broken through. He deserves to be called the Son of Fate. At this moment, hundreds of thousands of people had gathered around. When they saw the invincible Tianfeng Tianjiao, their faces were filled with shock. They thought that the Tianfeng Corporation would be in big trouble today, but they didn't expect Tianfeng Tianjiao to come with an invincible appearance. If Tianfeng Tianjiao broke through, then his strength would reach the demigod level. First-level demigod. Emo Sanyi and the others had extremely serious expressions on their faces as they stared at Zhou Tianfeng. Haha, you guys are very strong, but it's a pity that you met me. I don't care what the reason is. Since you dare to attack the members of my Tianfeng group, you all have to stay here today. Zhou Tianfeng laughed loudly, and his face revealed an extremely strong confidence. He had an imposing bearing, was in high spirits, and had a lofty horn on his head. After becoming a divine son, he would be like a star on earth. Oh no, Emo Si, contact the leader. Emo San looked at the powerful Zhou Tianfeng and frowned. Yes, Emo Si nodded and took out his phone to send a message to Emo Qinglong and the others. The intervention of the Tianfeng Corporation, the appearance of the Tianfeng prodigy, and his breakthrough had completely exceeded their expectations. Oh, go and inform someone to save you? I want to see who can save you today. Even if the number 1 prodigy comes, you have to stay here. I also want to see what kind of force you are. You actually have 4 experts at the peak of the profound void martial stage. Seeing that Emo Si was asking for help, Zhou Tianfeng revealed a mocking smile and didn't stop him. If it was in the past, he would have killed him directly. But now, not only did he not make a move, he even allowed them to ask for help. Today, he wanted to let everyone know his strength. He wanted to let everyone know that he, Zhou Tianfeng, was about to become a divine son. No matter how powerful your background was, how could you be comparable to the Lingxiao treasured palace? He wanted to create momentum. He wanted to kill the other party's rescuers when they arrived and show his invincibility. This Tianfeng Tianjiao is so confident. Is he trying to establish his dominance? Or is he trying to get rid of the people below and the faction behind them once and for all? Standing in the void and not stopping them from asking for help? How confident is he? Invincible, truly invincible. More and more people were watching. When they heard Tianfeng Tianjiao's words, their faces were filled with astonishment. This move was truly shocking. How confident and invincible he was to wait for the other party to call people over. Accumulating prestige? The heavenly soldier behind Tianfeng Tianjiao also revealed an expression of admiration and respect when he saw his actions. This move could greatly increase his prestige. After becoming a divine son, his future is limitless. I have to curry favor with him. The middle-aged heavenly soldier thought to himself. He was already several thousand years old, and his future was hopeless. Even the heavenly generals wanted to curry favor with a divine son with such great potential. He naturally knew what to do. Oh, he doesn't put us in his eyes at all. Below, Imo-san saw Tianfeng Tianjiao looking down at them and slightly raised his brows. This is just right. I want to see how Chief and the others will kill us when they arrive. Imo-15's eyes sparkled. Chief and the others have received the news and are on their way. Imo-C looked at the reply on his phone and said indifferently, all the Draconids are heading to Tianfeng City. Imo-san and the others are in trouble. At that moment, in Jiang City's villa, Imo Qinglong's expression turned cold when he received the distress call. He immediately roared loudly. A terrifying killing intent burst forth from his body. What? Imo-san and the other 5 are in trouble? The Draconids were slightly startled and immediately stood up. Heavenly Wind Corporation, the 9th-rank prodigy on the prodigy roll. Now that he has advanced to the 1st level of the demigod rank, just a single prodigy wants to kill us brothers. Let's go and kill them and destroy their Heavenly Wind Corporation. Imo Qinglong roared with a ghastly expression. Chapter 1852. 1852 1852 1 strand of hair and 1 sword. Let's go. At the river city, Imo Qinglong and the group of Draconids quickly flew towards the direction of Heavenly Wind City. The distance between the two places was only about 1,000 kilometers. With the help of Imo Qinglong and Imo Yuan, the 2 demigods could teleport. It would take them at most 5 minutes to reach Heavenly Wind City. This Heavenly Wind prodigy had actually reached the demigod realm, the Son of Fate. Every single prodigy was the Son of Fate. It was as expected. In the past, everyone thought that Heavenly Wind prodigy was only at the peak of the insightful Void realm. However, after 4 peak of the insightful Void realm experts became enemies with Heavenly Wind Corporation, Heavenly Wind prodigy directly displayed the strength of a demigod. Who are those people down there? 4 of them are at the peak of the profound Void martial stage. Their strength is also very terrifying. Those people down there seem to be asking for help. However, Tianfeng Tianjiao is standing there waiting for their people to arrive. Tianfeng Tianjiao is so confident. With Tianfeng Tianjiao's current strength, even the number 1 on the prodigy roll would be able to fight for a bit. He is completely unafraid of any force. The distress signal flares floating in the sky, the explosions coming from the Sun Clan group, and over 10,000 members of the Tianfeng group gathered in the sky. This scene attracted the attention of the entire Tianfeng city, and everyone flew over curiously. When they learned of the cause and effect, everyone's faces revealed a shocked expression. 4 experts at the peak of the profound Void realm had a conflict with the Tianfeng group. Just when everyone thought that the Tianfeng group would meet with big trouble or even be destroyed, Tianfeng's prodigy flew across the sky, displaying the invincible appearance of a demigod. It had been said long ago that every prodigy was the Son of Fate, the so-called main character. Just when everyone thought that the main character was about to be killed, the main character would erupt with strength that no one expected, performing a huge reversal. Today, the Heavenly Wind prodigy displayed what was the Son of Fate and what was the main character. He floated proudly in the sky, looking down at Imo Sanyi and the others with an indifferent expression, waiting for the other party to call them over. This attitude made many people around him submit. Tianfeng Jiazi is simply too handsome. How great would it be if I could marry him? In fact, thousands of girls around him were looking at that tall, proud, and handsome figure with infatuation. Young Master Tianfeng, I hope that you can let me personally kill them in the end and avenge my son. Sun Laitian respectfully said to Zhou Tianfeng with a face full of excitement and savagery. Yes. Zhou Tianfeng glanced at Sun Laitian indifferently and said, Thank you, young Master Tianfeng. Sun Lietian's body trembled as he nodded his head. His blood-red eyeballs stared at the people below. I will feed your corpses to the dogs. Around them, all the members of the Tianfeng Corporation revealed smiles on their faces. Looking at the powerful young master, their faces were full of pride. Hee. Below them, Imo-san and the rest laughed coldly. I hope that in a while, Tianfeng Tianjiao, you can still stand high and mighty. Imo-15 stared at Zhou Tianfeng, a trace of disdain flashing in his eyes as he directly said, Haha, I'll give you 20 minutes. If no one comes to save you in 20 minutes, then I'll take your dog lives. Hearing Imo-15's words, Zhou Tianfeng laughed out loud and announced, Huh. After he finished speaking, Imo-san and the others looked to the right. Through the dense crowd of people, they revealed faint smiles on their faces. We don't need 20 minutes. At this moment, a cold voice came from the back. This caused the hundreds of thousands of people gathered in the surroundings, as well as the people from the Tianfeng Corporation in the center, to be slightly stunned. He's very fast. Zhou Tianfeng narrowed his eyes slightly and looked towards the right. I want to see what kind of power dares to fight with my Tianfeng Corporation in Tianfeng City. Boom! Before he could finish his words, a terrifying aura came from the back. I want to see who dares to kill us. Devil Chi shot into the sky, covering half of the eastern sky of Tianfeng City. The Devil Chi that covered an area of more than 100 kilometers interrupted Zhou Tianfeng's words, causing everyone to be stunned. Oh my god, this? What a terrifying aura. Make way, make way. Hiss. They. At this moment, the world changed, and the expressions of everyone who was watching the show changed drastically. Especially those in the east. Everyone looked behind them, and their faces instantly revealed an extremely shocked expression. They hurriedly hid to the side, their eyes wide open, filled with disbelief. How? How is this possible? A path opened up, and more than 40 figures appeared in everyone's sight. When they saw the 40 terrifying figures in the air, their eyes instantly widened. The aura of each of the 40 figures was no less than that of a peak profound void martial stage cultivator. Even the old man and the middle-aged man in the middle had an even more terrifying aura. Them? Zhou Tianfeng's expression changed drastically when he saw Dongfeng and the others. He couldn't believe it. This is impossible. Tianbing's expression also changed slightly as he stared at Imo Qinglong and the others. This is impossible. There are more than 40 at the peak of the insightful Void Realm, and 2 at the first rank of the Demigod Realm. Other than the Lingxiao Treasured Palace and the other 3 forces, it's impossible for them to have so many experts. But they're obviously not from our Lingxiao Treasured Palace and the other 3 forces. They must have obtained a huge opportunity in some god country and obtained a huge inheritance. I really didn't expect that. The middle-aged heavenly soldier muttered with a hint of jealousy in his eyes. Leader. Imo-san and the others smiled and flew toward Imo Qinglong and the others with smiles on their faces. Emojia's wife and son widened their eyes slightly as they followed behind in a daze. Go to the back and protect Yue and the others. Imo Qinglong stroked Yue's head and said indifferently to them. Grandpa Imo. Yue and the others had seen Imo Qinglong and the others more than once. At this moment, he lowered his head and called out shyly. Yue, go to the back and watch. Anyone who dares to bully you will have to see if we agree or not. Imo Qinglong said to Lui indifferently. Emojia's wife and the rest nodded excitedly and followed Emojiu to stand at the back. Tianfeng Tianjiu? A reckless thing from the Sun Group almost killed our brother's son. We are here to take revenge. Are you going to stand up for them? Very good. Ask our brother to call someone to save them. In 5 minutes, we will rush here. Now, I will give you 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, if you can't find the person who saved you, then everyone in the Tianfeng Corporation will die. Imo Qinglong stared at them and roared the last sentence. If Zhou Tianfeng dared to ask Imo-san and the others to call for help, then they would also dare to ask the other party to call for help. Return the favor. What was at stake was strength and power. The loser would die. Chapter 1853. 1853, a single strand of hair, into sword 6. They were all going to die. Boom, boom, boom. A terrifying killing intent shot out from Imo Qinglong's body, and a powerful killing intent locked onto Zhou Tianfeng. The powerful aura and the cold words caused everyone's breathing to stop. Zhou Tianfeng's expression changed drastically, and his cold eyes stared fixedly at Imo Qinglong. The expressions of all the members of Tianfeng Corporation changed drastically, and fear appeared in their eyes. The change in their characters was too fast. Just now, they were the ones who were judging the other party's group. However, they had never expected that the other party would have more than 40 experts flying over. The lowest was at the peak of the insightful Void Realm. Without their young master Heavenly Wind, 1 or 2 peak of the insightful Void Realm experts would be able to annihilate their Heavenly Wind Corporation. However, the other party actually had more than 40 experts, more than 40 of them, especially since their leader was obviously a demigod. How is this possible? 80% of the prodigies on the prodigy rankings haven't reached the peak of the profound void martial stage yet, and now there are more than 40 of them? The surrounding people were also in disbelief. 20 prodigies were born from the 20 ancient lands. They were known as the prodigies of heaven and the children of fate. The prodigy strength ranged from the 7th level of the profound void martial stage to the demigod realm. With such strength, they could become prodigies and establish powerful groups. But now, there were more than 40 prodigies who could rival the top 10 on the prodigy leaderboard. How could they believe it? How can Tianfeng Heaven's favorites resist? I'm afraid the Tianfeng Corporation is finished. The surrounding spectators looked at Tianfeng Heaven's favorites in astonishment, and then at the group of experts who suddenly appeared. What a surprise! There are more than 40 peak of the insightful Void Realm and 2 demigod experts. Zhou Tianfeng clenched his fists, and an embarrassed expression appeared on his face. However, do you think that you can destroy us with such strength? He glanced at the heavenly soldier beside him and raised his head slightly. There was no fear on his face at all. There were 2 level 1 demigod experts on the other side, but there was also a level 1 demigod beside him. As Zhou Tianfeng spoke, he took a step forward, and the level 1 demigod experts all burst out. Behind him, a hurricane formed and condensed into numerous sharp green swords. They clashed with the Azure Demon Dragon. Boom! When his aura erupted, the heavenly soldier beside him also unleashed the power of a demigod. A sharp light and Zhou Tianfeng's aura pressed forward together. In an instant, a storm raged. What? The middle-aged man beside Tianfeng Tianjiao is also a demigod? My God, who is he? Who is that middle-aged man in golden armor? Tianfeng Tianjiao also has a demigod beside him. When the heavenly soldier beside Zhou Tianfeng released his aura, the expressions of everyone around him changed. The sudden appearance of experts shocked them. Is this the so-called son of fate? Some of them looked at the heavenly soldier beside Zhou Tianfeng and murmured, "If it's only the 2 of you demigods, then today, your Tianfeng Corporation and the 2 of you will be destroyed." Imo Yuan didn't panic at all when he saw the heavenly soldier. Instead, a strong fighting spirit appeared on his face. A powerful aura locked onto the heavenly soldier. Is that so? We can fight now. A wild and violent expression appeared on his face. As soon as he finished speaking, the Draconids emitted an extremely powerful killing intent. When the group of Draconids took 2 steps forward, Zhou Tianfeng's expression changed slightly. Although there were 2 demigods on their side, there were more than 40 peak of the profound void martial stage other than the 2 demigods. If they really started fighting, the rest of the Tianfeng Corporation would be killed instantly. Even the golden-armored middle-aged man has the strength of a demigod, but Tianfeng Tianjiao and the others aren't a match for that mysterious organization. There are too many peak of the insightful Void Realm experts on the other side. More than 40 peak of the insightful Void Realm experts combined can kill a rank 1 demigod. The expressions of the surrounding onlookers changed slightly when they saw this scene. Some timid people hurriedly retreated. The range of a demigod-level battle was very terrifying. Zhou Tianfeng frowned, and his expression changed drastically. He hadn't joined the Lingxiao treasured palace yet, and wasn't a divine son yet. He couldn't reveal his identity yet. Facing this powerful group of people in front of him, he couldn't do anything. Tianfeng Prodigy, Xue Tianjiang, and the others are here. At this moment, the heavenly soldier beside him suddenly looked in the direction of the Tianfeng ancient land. His eyes flickered as he said indifferently, "Oh." Zhou Tianfeng was slightly stunned. He immediately looked toward the Tianfeng ancient land. Vaguely, he saw Xue Tianjiang flying toward them with 100 heavenly soldiers. This made him smile as he slowly looked at Mo Qinglong and the others. Today, it might not be a battle, but a massacre. Zhou Tianfeng's face revealed a ghastly expression. Heavenly soldiers, heavenly generals, that's the heavenly soldiers, heavenly generals. At this moment, amidst the tense atmosphere, a shocked roar suddenly sounded. Heavenly soldiers, heavenly generals? In an instant, everyone hurriedly looked towards the source of the sound. Some of them quickly scanned their surroundings. Heavenly soldiers and generals. These 4 words represented an invincible army on earth. Everyone still remembered that when the gods descended, there were 100,000 heavenly soldiers and generals that were floating in the sky and emitting endless majesty. Every single heavenly soldier had the strength of a first-stage demigod. Every single heavenly general had the strength of a 5th-stage demigod or above. An invincible army, an existence that would not be offended. It's really the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. What are they doing here? When some people saw the hundreds of people flying over from the heavenly wind ancient land, their eyes widened and were filled with reverence. Heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. When Mo Qinglong and the others heard these words, they were slightly shocked and looked over as well. As their gazes swept over, their faces revealed an incomparably grave expression. Over 100 people were led by a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was covered in golden armor. His body was tall and sturdy, and he looked awe-inspiring. His face was filled with an awe-inspiring expression. Behind the middle-aged man, a group of heavenly soldiers held golden long spears in their hands. Their gazes coldly swept over the surroundings. This kind of coldness was as though a god was looking at an ordinary mortal. There are actually so many decent experts? Xue Tian led a group of heavenly soldiers and flew over. His gaze swept past Mo Qinglong and the others, and his eyes revealed surprise as well. Tianfeng, what happened? As Xue Tian spoke, his gaze turned towards Zhou Tianfeng in the middle as he asked with a smile on his face. The powerful aura that erupted from this side caused Xue Tian to fly over with curiosity. When he saw Zhou Tianfeng here, he somewhat understood what had happened. However, his words Tiefeng caused everyone to open their mouths in surprise. Chapter 1854. 1854, a single hair and a sword 7. Heavenly wind? The appearance of the heavenly troops and heavenly generals caused everyone's faces to be filled with shock and awe. However, they weren't too shocked. After all, this wasn't the first time they had seen the heavenly troops and heavenly generals. However, the leader of the heavenly troops and heavenly generals descended from the sky and called out to heavenly wind Tianjiao with an amiable expression, causing everyone to be shocked. How does Tianfeng know a heavenly general? Everyone in the crowd widened their eyes, and so did all the members of the Tianfeng group. What happened today completely exceeded their expectations. For powerful existences at the peak of the profound void martial stage, Tianfeng had broken through to the demigod realm. 2 demigods and more than 40 experts at the peak of the profound void martial stage had arrived. The demigods beside Tianfeng Tianjiao's confrontation with this mysterious force. It was a reversal, a constant reversal. Just when everyone thought that Tianfeng Tianjiao and the others were still at a disadvantage, the heavenly troops and heavenly generals suddenly appeared. The heavenly troops and heavenly generals directly called Tianfeng with a smile on their faces. A series of changes caused the hearts of everyone in Tianfeng City to beat violently. Even everyone in Heavenly Wind Corporation felt the same way. This group of enemies and their young master had brought them too much shock, especially now. Greetings, Lord Heavenly Soldiers and Heavenly Generals. At this moment, everyone in the surroundings reacted. The hundreds of thousands of people gathered in the surroundings bowed and greeted the Heavenly Soldiers and Heavenly Generals. Although they didn't kneel, the position of the Heavenly Soldiers and Generals could be seen from the bow. When Imo Qinglong and the others saw this scene, they frowned and had a bad premonition. Heavenly General Shui. When Zhou Tianfeng saw them coming, he was excited and cupped his hands. Haha, Tianfeng, you don't have to be so polite. When you join the Lingxiao Treasured Palace, you'll be a divine son on the God Ascension list. At that time, we'll also be senior and junior brothers. Is there anyone here who wants to be rude to Tianfeng? Heavenly General Shui laughed loudly and said to Zhou Tianfeng in a carefree manner. When he finished his last sentence, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he indifferently swept his gaze over the Azure Demon Dragon and the others. Being able to befriend a divine son was extremely beneficial to Heavenly General Shui. The heavenly troops and heavenly generals seemed awe-inspiring, but in reality, most of the heavenly generals in the Lingxiao Treasured Palace were inferior to divine sons. The members of the heavenly soldiers and generals were mostly cultivators who were 5,000 to 6,000 years old, or even 7,000 to 8,000 years old. It was already very difficult for them to become gods. As for those divine sons, they were young and possessed incomparably terrifying strength. Even if they couldn't become gods in the end, they could basically reach the 7th or 8th level of the demigod realm, or even higher. That was why General Shui Tian was so polite to Zhou Tianfeng and gave him so much face. According to the people on Earth's evaluation of Heaven's pride, they were the children of fate, the main characters. The treatment of the main characters. At this moment, Zhou Tianfeng was completely the template of the main characters. Is there someone here who is being unreasonable to Tianfeng? When everyone heard Shui Tianjiang's words, they sucked in a breath of cold air. Tianfeng's Heaven's pride wants to join the Lingxiao Treasured Palace and become a divine son. Tianjiang, who dares to be rude to Tianfeng Tianjiao? Their bodies trembled, and when everyone saw this scene, their bodies trembled. This is fate. This is strength. In the future, Tianfeng Tianjiao has a high chance of becoming a god. Some people looked at the figure in the sky and sucked in a breath. Haha, Shui Tianjiang, that group of people said they want to destroy our Tianfeng Corporation and kill me. More than 40 experts at the peak of the profound void martial stage and 2 experts at the level of demigod level 1 are very powerful. Give me 10 minutes. If I can't summon any experts within 10 minutes, they will make their move. Zhou Tianfeng shouted loudly when he saw Shui Tianjiang giving him face. He looked at Imo Qinglong and the others with a mocking expression. Oh, you want to kill Tianfeng and destroy your Tianfeng organization? I'll give you 10 minutes to call for help. Shui Tianjiang smiled and looked at Imo Qinglong and the others as well. At this moment, the gazes of everyone who saw Zhou Tianfeng and Shui Tianjiang were all focused on Imo Qinglong and the others. They knew that this group of villains would be in trouble soon. Over 40 experts at the peak of the profound void martial stage are indeed powerful, but you want to take Tianfeng's life? Shui Tianjiang looked down at Imo Qinglong and the others, and his aura slowly rose. Wang, a long spear suddenly appeared in his hand. Clang. The sound of metal clanging could be heard from the long spear. He held the long spear in his hand and pointed it at the 100-kilometer-long demon cloud in the sky. The long spear flashed with a cold light and directly charged into the sky. Boom! A thunderous sound rang out from within the demonic cloud, and all of the demonic clouds instantly dissipated. This is the strength of a heavenly general? At this moment, everyone saw a flash of lightning, and the demonic chi that covered 100 kilometers dissipated. All of their faces revealed expressions of shock. Who? Imo Qinglong and the others stopped breathing, and they felt an incomparable pressure. Considering your strength, I'll give you a chance to live. Kneel down to Tianfeng and respect him in the future. Shui Tianjiang pointed the long spear in the sky at Mo Qinglong and the others and said calmly, "Respect me?" Zhou Tianfeng also revealed an excited expression when he heard Shui Tianjiang's words. With him as their leader, there were more than 40 peak, insightful Void Realm demigods. If he became their leader in the future, his strength and influence would receive a huge increase. Even if he became a divine son in the future, he still had strong confidence that he was not weaker than the other divine sons. In fact, he was even stronger than them. Zhou Tianfeng looked at Shui Tianjiang gratefully, his eyes shining. "I am the chosen one. I am the main character on earth." He clenched his fists tightly, his eyes filled with excitement. The other people in Heavenly Wind City also opened their mouths slightly. "He wants us to kneel down and respect them. Haha, is he worthy?" When Azure Demon Dragon heard Heavenly General Shui's words, he growled in a low voice with an extremely embarrassed expression. "Prepare to flee." His arm slowly turned into a dragon claw, and a pair of dragon horns gradually appeared on his head as he spoke softly to the group of draconids beside him. "Oh, in this state? I understand now. So you guys have obtained some bloodlines. No wonder. No wonder you guys were able to improve so quickly. However, more than 40 people have obtained bloodlines. I think it's impossible for them to have divine-grade bloodlines. Their potential is limited." Shui Tianjiang raised his brows slightly when he saw the changes on Mo Qinglong's body. If the other party had reached such a realm with a human bloodline, then he wouldn't have killed Mo Qinglong and the others because their potential was endless. But if it was a bloodline, then it was different. "Are you unwilling to submit? If you offend the future divine son, I'll sentence you to death." "Are you very strong? You are just ants. Kill them." General Shui ordered the heavenly soldiers behind him. Chapter 1855. 1855, a single hair, and a sword 8. Clang. When General Shui Tian gave the order, the 100 over heavenly soldiers behind him moved their spears. A cold voice and a sharp edge resounded throughout the sky. The 100 over heavenly soldiers stared at Mo Qinglong and the others, their expressions unchanged. Although these 40 over people were very strong, they could be easily killed by them. "Shui Tianjiang has given you a chance to live. Submit to me and respect me. Don't be reckless." Seeing the heavenly soldiers preparing to attack, Zhou Tianfeng roared at Mo Qinglong and the others. Compared to killing them and taking them as his subordinates, he wanted to take these people as his subordinates. Even at this moment, he could see that these people had bloodlines. "You guys run. I'll fight with Mo Yuan." Mo Qinglong ignored Zhou Tianfeng and immediately roared at the draconids behind him. "Go." The draconids let out a low growl with an extremely ugly expression and turned around, wanting to flee into the distance. "You want to escape? With just a bunch of ants like you?" At the instant the draconids wanted to escape, a look of contempt appeared on Shui Tianjiang's face. Without him saying a word, the group of heavenly soldiers beside him instantly disappeared. Clang, clang, clang. In just an instant, a group of heavenly soldiers appeared around Mo Qinglong and the others. More than 100 heavenly soldiers directly surrounded them. At this moment, the expressions of all the draconids changed drastically. Not good. Mo Qinglong's heart sank, and a trace of despair flashed through his eyes. What a powerful heavenly army! They moved in an instant and surrounded all of them. It's as difficult as ascending to the heavens to escape in front of the heavenly army, even if this group of people is incomparably powerful. The expressions of the surrounding spectators were shocked once again, and their gazes were fixed on them. "Kill them! Kill them! Haha! All of them must die!" Sunlight Tian revealed an extremely excited expression when he saw this scene. They had killed their own son. The more people they killed, the more excited he became. "I'll give you one last chance, submit." Zhou Tianfeng gave a final warning when he saw this scene. However, what came next was still the unwavering eyes of the draconids. "I'll give you a chance, but you don't want it? Kill a few of them first." General Shui Tian glanced at Zhou Tianfeng and ordered the heavenly soldiers indifferently. Clang, clang, clang. As soon as he finished speaking, dozens of heavenly soldiers instantly attacked the Draconids. The strength of a rank 1 demigod was completely unleashed. Get lost. Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan's expressions changed drastically as they directly faced the group of heavenly soldiers. Die. Seeing the two charge over, killing intent appeared in the eyes of the dozen or so heavenly soldiers. Die. A cold voice sounded out as spear lights pierced towards the two. No, leader. Behind them, the Draconids' expressions changed drastically as they charged over and roared loudly. Bang bang. The arms of the Azure Demon Dragon and Mo Yuan turned into dragon claws as they faced the long spears. When the two of them blocked the two long spears, they felt a wave of powerlessness. Fear appeared on their faces as they watched the long spears continue to stab towards them. Despair appeared on their faces. Buzz. Just as they thought that they were about to be pierced by the long spears, a blood-red hair on their heads moved slightly. Bang, 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 bang. That hair fell from their bodies and condensed into a ray of light in front of them that was the combination of dark lightning and flames. The light flashed and blocked more than 10 heavenly soldiers. Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan were slightly stunned, and their faces showed astonishment. What? The more than 10 attacking heavenly soldiers showed astonishment. They saw a light appear in front of the two people, and then the strand of hair slowly floated down. The strand of hair seemed to have lost its energy and became a little withered. A strand of hair? They have defensive treasures on them. A heavenly soldier shouted coldly. Continue to attack. The voice of another heavenly soldier rang out. At the same time, in the Tianda Square of Jiang City, Wang Xian, who was holding Kaier with his right hand and a flower on his neck, was shopping in a children's clothing store. Beside him, Yao Nu and Ao Qitian, Ao Jian, were following him. All of a sudden, Ao Qitian's body paused. Dragon King, something might have happened to Mo Qinglong and the rest. I have placed my hair on a group of Draconids. It can help them withstand fatal attacks from those below the godly state. Now, the hair on Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan's bodies have been consumed. Ao Qitian immediately walked to Wang Xian's side and transmitted his voice to him. Wang Xian's body paused slightly. He frowned and sensed that Mo Qinglong and the rest were still alive. Then, he looked at Ao Qitian and said, You and Ao Jian go over. Kill all the enemies. It's the Dragon King. Ao Qitian nodded his head. Then, he took Ao Jian and disappeared from the spot instantly. Yao Nu, who was at the side, heard their conversation and widened her eyes slightly. Buzz. In just an instant, Ao Qitian and Ao Jian appeared in the sky about 20,000 meters above the Sun Group building in Tianfeng City. With Ao Qitian's current strength, he was only a few thousand kilometers away. It would take less than a second. When they appeared in the sky, more than a dozen heavenly soldiers attacked Devil Azure Dragon and Devil Abyss from below again. Let me do it. Ao Jian looked down and waved his arm. A sharp sword directly attacked below. Go to hell. More than 10 heavenly soldiers' long spears locked onto demonic Azure Dragon and demonic Abyss from below. Once this attack landed on them, they would definitely die. Buzz. At this moment, a sword fell from the sky. A golden sword that emitted a cold metallic luster appeared above the heavenly soldiers as though it had teleported. Poo poo poo. A golden light flashed, and the bodies of the heavenly soldiers that were attacking froze. Under the shocked gazes of Mo Qinglong, Mo Yuan, and the surrounding heavenly soldiers and spectators, more than 10 heavenly soldiers directly fell to the ground. Their hearts were instantly pierced. What? Xue Tianjiang, who stood proudly in the air, was slightly stunned, and his face revealed a stunned expression. He looked at the sharp sword, and slowly revealed a shocked expression. Someone dared to kill their heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. What's going on? That sword. Someone is attacking the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. While everyone was slightly stunned, they saw the golden sword floating in the air above the mysterious force, and their faces revealed a shocked expression. Attack the heavenly soldiers and generals? This was the heavenly soldiers and generals. The expressions of the remaining 80 heavenly soldiers changed. They never expected that someone would dare to attack them. Buzz. At this moment, the sword moved again. A golden light flashed, and all the heavenly soldiers felt their hearts tighten. Their eyes started to lose focus. Bang, bang, bang. In the sky, the remaining 80 or so heavenly soldiers fell toward the ground. Die. Chapter 1856. 1856. If 1856 was killed, so be it. Bang, bang, bang. In front of Tianfeng City's Sun Group, one corpse after another fell to the ground with an abnormally clear sound. Even if there were hundreds of thousands of people gathered around, even if they were separated by a few people, everyone could hear the sound of the corpses falling to the ground. The first 10 or so corpses, along with the later 80 or so corpses, fell heavily to the ground. As the sound rang out, everyone around felt as if the corpses were smashing into their hearts. Heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. These were heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals, the most powerful legion in the Lingxiao treasured palace. But now, 100 heavenly soldiers had been directly killed. A single sword had killed 100 heavenly soldiers. Who did this? Who dared to kill a group of heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals? Hiss, they're dead, they're dead. 100 heavenly soldiers and generals were all killed. How is this possible? Who did this? Who dared to do this? Look up, there are two figures up there. A 10-kilometer radius of silence lasted for more than 10 seconds. A shocked voice burst out from the mouths of all the onlookers. Everyone's faces were filled with shock. Everything that had happened today had shocked them. However, the fact that more than 100 heavenly soldiers and generals had been killed made them feel a little terrified. This was the strongest army brought by the gods. The weakest was a first-level demigod. Any one of them could destroy an entire city. Everyone sucked in a deep breath of cold air. They raised their heads and looked at the two figures in the sky. Who dares to kill our heavenly soldiers and generals? Who is it? Shui Tianjiang's body trembled slightly. He raised his head and stared at the sky as he shouted sternly. Damn it! Who are they? Zhou Tianfeng's expression changed drastically as a bad premonition enveloped his heart. An expert who dared to kill even heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals had no scruples at all. Mo Qinglong, who else wants to kill you? At this moment, Ao Qitian's voice came from the sky. He completely ignored Shui Tianjiang's roar and the gazes from below. Leader Ao, Tianfeng Tianjiao of Tianfeng Corporation, and a group of heavenly soldiers and generals want to kill us. Mo Qinglong and the others also reacted at this moment and immediately said respectfully to the two figures in the sky. At this moment, Mo Qinglong and the others also understood that the hair that helped them block the fatal blow was the hair on Ao Qitian's body. What are they doing? Everyone in the surroundings was slightly shocked when they heard the indistinct voice coming from the sky. Tianfeng Corporation, Tianfeng Heaven's Pride, heavenly troops and heavenly generals. Ao Jin's cold voice sounded from the sky. At this moment, the sharp sword that was suspended in the sky started to move. The sharp swords gave off a metallic luster. One after another, the sharp swords split apart, instantly splitting into tens of thousands of swords. The tens of thousands of sharp swords attacked everyone in the Tianfeng Corporation. Not good, quickly dodge. Zhou Tianfeng's expression changed drastically when he saw this scene, and he hurriedly shouted. So. However, with Ao Jin's almost invincible existence below the godly state, killing a few ordinary demigods and a group of insightful void transcendents was simply instant. The sharp swords attacked everyone in the Tianfeng Corporation. At this moment, the sharp swords were like the scythes of the Grim Reaper. No. When everyone in the Tianfeng Corporation saw the sharp metal swords attacking them, despair appeared on their faces. They shouted in terror. Oh no, who are you people? How dare you kill me? I am the future divine son, the son of fate, the main character of Earth. Zhou Tianfeng saw a golden sword heading toward him. The resplendent metallic edge on it made his hair stand on end. Wong, wong, wong. He moved his palm, and a wooden box appeared in his hand. The green swords in the wooden box met the resplendent golden sword. Pung! However, to his horror, the instant the golden sword collided with the green sword he released, the supreme treasure he had obtained in the Tianfeng ancient land was easily struck to the side. The resplendent golden sword continued to attack him. This caused his face to be filled with shock. I am a heavenly soldier and a heavenly general. If you dare to attack me, the Lingxiao treasured palace will not let you off. An earth-shaking roar came from the side. Lightning flashed all over Xue Tianjiang's body. He held a long spear in his hand and roared like a god of thunder. When everyone around heard the sound, they immediately looked over. Pooh, pooh, pooh. However, they saw a scene that they would never forget. The thunder godlike heavenly general was filled with lightning. However, at this moment, numerous sharp swords easily pierced through his body. It was as if the lightning was just a special effect. Crackle, crackle. His body started to freeze, and his eyes started to lose focus. He raised his head and stared at the two blurry figures in the sky. Gradually, he moved to the right. In the sky on the right, there was a palace with a circumference of more than 10,000 kilometers that stood in the void. That was the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. The god of our Lingxiao Treasured Palace will not let you go. Cough, cough. As soon as he finished speaking, his body fell toward the ground. No, 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 I can't die. Zhou Tianfeng, who had witnessed Xue Tian's death, roared unwillingly. He was about to become a divine son. Even in the Lingxiao Treasured Palace, he was still a divine son who stood high and mighty. He was unwilling to accept this. He widened his eyes and stared at the resplendent golden sword that was already in front of him. He roared powerlessly. Pooh! With a single sword strike, everything vanished into thin air. The so-called chosen ones, the main characters, the divine sons, and the children of fate were all unable to withstand Aojian's strike. The heartless sword Dao, the heartless sword. Pung, pung. Xue Tian's corpse fell, Zhou Tianfeng's corpse fell, and all the surrounding Tianfeng organization members' corpses fell. In less than 5 seconds, all of them died. Let's go. Ao Qitian's voice sounded again, and he waved his arm. Below, the corpses of more than 100 heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals and Zhou Tianfeng's corpses were stored into the interspatial ring. Mo Qinglong and the rest disappeared in an instant. They only felt a flash before they returned to the villa in Jiang City. Thank you, leaders. Mo Qinglong and the rest felt awe in their hearts. They immediately bowed and thanked Ao Qitian and Ao Jian. There's no need. Mo Qinglong and Ao Jian shook their heads. Their bodies moved and disappeared again. In the Tianda Square in Jiang City, the two figures appeared behind Wang Xian. No one in the surrounding could sense their sudden appearance. Dragon King, we have killed more than 100 heavenly soldiers and generals. Ao Qitian took 2 steps towards Wang Xian and reported. Kill them then. Wang Xian nodded his head nonchalantly. Daddy, Daddy, go there, there. At this moment, the sound of flowers could be heard from his neck. All right, all right. Wang Xian led them to the shop in front. When Yao Nu heard Ao Qitian's report and Wang Xian's nonchalance, her eyes were filled with shock. The heavenly soldiers and generals of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace were killed just like that? Chapter 1857 1857 Family Banquet 1. Boom! More than 100 heaven soldiers and generals were all killed. Tianfeng Tianjiao was killed. Oh my God, this? Who are those people? How dare they kill heaven soldiers and generals? How dare they kill future divine sons? A sword is so terrifying. These are troubled times. Yesterday, the sea god died. The divine sea palace disappeared from the bottom of the sea. The 5th divine son of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace died, and more than 100 heaven soldiers and generals were killed. Tianfeng Tianjiao was killed. He killed more than 100 heaven soldiers and heaven generals with only a sword. That heaven general didn't even have the strength to resist, and Tianfeng Tianjiao was killed instantly. Who are they? What forces are they? At this moment, in Tianfeng City, the entire city was in an uproar. Two figures and a sword. The heaven soldiers and heaven generals that everyone thought were invincible were all killed by Tianfeng Tianjiao, whom they thought was the son of fate and the main character. At the same time, everyone from the Heavenly Wind Corporation was also killed. The death of a group of experts shook the entire Heavenly Wind City. Troubled times. The news of more than 100 heavenly troops and generals being killed quickly spread to the surroundings. With the existence of the computer network, in just half a day, everyone in the East knew that the heavenly troops and generals had been killed. At the same time, 100,000 meters high in the sky, in the towering Lingxiao treasured palace. In the center of the treasured palace, a figure with a golden halo and a divine crown was leaning on a divine seat. In front of them, 15 middle-aged men in golden armor and holding halberds stood in the center of the treasured palace. On the bodies of the 15 people, there were 5 words written in the north, south, east, west. They represented the heavenly generals and vice-generals of the east, west, and south gates of the Lingxiao treasured hall, respectively. And the middle one represented the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals in the Lingxiao treasured hall. More than 100 heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals have been killed. Commander Dong, go and find out who did it. Once you find the murderer, report immediately. The figure on the divine throne said slowly, "It's a divine lord. He killed our heavenly soldiers and generals. I will definitely take their heads." The commander of the East Heaven's Gate shouted loudly with a cold face. "Commander Zhong, how is the matter that I asked you to investigate?" The figure on the divine throne continued to ask. Reporting to the divine lord, we did not find any clues in the Pacific Ocean. We discovered that the Earth's crust has begun to move violently. It seems like Earth is going to undergo a huge change. The middle commander's eyes sparkled as he reported. Next, get everyone in the Lingxiao treasured palace ready. Earth will usher in a second mutation. It will be an opportunity for everyone. The figure on the throne said slowly, "Yes, Divine Lord." The commanders responded loudly. When they saw the figure on the throne disappear, they immediately retreated. The sea god has fallen, and some powerful creatures have appeared. The second mutation is coming. This is an opportunity for the Lingxiao treasured palace. Perhaps a few gods will be born, and it is also an opportunity for us. It is hard to say whether it is an opportunity or not, but we have to be careful next. After all, this is an ancient battlefield that has existed for more than 100,000 years. Demons and monsters are everywhere. When someone rises, someone will fall. Someone is already challenging the dignity of our skyscraping treasured palace. There are more and more things that don't know whether they are dead or alive. We risked our lives to come here. We will definitely take the biggest fruit. The figure that was leaning on the divine throne appeared in a divine palace in the highest hall of the skyscraping treasured palace. There were also a few figures in the divine palace. They were chatting and looking down at the water blue planet below through a mirror in the divine palace. There was also a mirror at the side. There was a fixed pattern on the mirror. It was also a planet. All the continents were connected together. The continents were the continents and the oceans were the oceans. How beautiful, how cute. Sir, your 2 little princesses are simply too cute. In the Tianda Square in Jiang City, Wang Xian brought the 2 little guys to a children's clothing store. The waiter looked at Hua Urakayer, who was wearing new clothes, and said with sparkling eyes. The 2 little guys were extremely clean and pure. They were exceptionally beautiful and cute. Coupled with their almost identical facial features, all the passers-by looked at them curiously. They are pretty cute. They are just a little naughty. Wang Xian looked at the 2 little guys who had changed into new clothes and said with a face full of affection, Dad, it's my sister who's naughty. I'm not naughty." The obedient Kyer walked over and held his hand as she said, "I'm not naughty, Daddy. I'm not naughty." Huar also ran over immediately and glared at Kyer. All right. Do you still want new clothes?" Yes. The intelligence of the two little kids could not be judged by common sense. However, the nature of shopping for clothes might be inborn in a woman. Even the two little guys did not know how to tire. After shopping around the entire Tianda Square for an entire morning, they bought almost 100 pieces of clothes for the two of them. Wang Xian had no choice. He didn't know if the two of them would suddenly turn 5 or 6 years old in a few days. After bringing the two excited little fellows out from Tianda Square, Wang Xian and the rest walked towards the villa. It was located in the center of Jiang City. It was much more bustling than before. There were luxurious cars on the streets, and people would fly past from time to time in the sky. Chirp, chirp, chirp. At this moment, a rapid and ear-piercing sound suddenly rang out. The range of the sound had reached more than 100 kilometers. What is that sound? What is that? The sudden ear-piercing sound caused many people on the streets to have a drastic change in expression. Some of them were children and old people. They even covered their ears and revealed a pained expression. Wang Xian frowned slightly and looked towards the west. What's going on? From the sound of it, it's not a simple demonic beast. Why would there be a demonic beast here all of a sudden? At this moment, on the street opposite Wang Xian and the rest, a group of 7 to 8 young men with extraordinary statuses immediately raised their heads and looked towards the west as well. Their faces were filled with astonishment. Ancient lands appeared one after another on Earth. Most of the ancient lands had powerful demonic beasts and ferocious beasts. They had never left the ancient lands before. However, such powerful demonic beasts could not be born on Earth. Boom! At this moment, a ferocious bird beast with a human head that was emitting monstrous demonic flames appeared in the sky above Jiang City. Its wings were about 30 meters long. Its pitch-black wings had no wings and were completely made of bones. The entire demonic beast gave off a terrifying power. Not good. A demigod-level demonic beast. This is a demigod-level demonic beast. Sensing the aura of the demonic beast in the sky, everyone in Jiang City changed their expressions. Chapter 1858. 1858 Family Banquet 2. Why would a demigod-level demon beast appear in the city? If all the demon beasts in the valley come out, this weak planet will be in complete chaos. The fall of the sea god, the disappearance of the divine sea palace, the death of the divine sun, and the news from our brothers in the Lingshao treasured palace that more than 100 heavenly soldiers and generals have been killed. Why do I feel that the earth is becoming more and more chaotic? On the street in front of the Tianda Square, 7 or 8 young men and women stood on the street below. Their expressions changed as they looked at the terrifying demonic beasts circling in the sky. Too many shocking things had happened in the past few days. Especially just now, they had received a piece of information in the group chat of the young men in the Lingshao treasured palace. More than 100 heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals had been killed by a mysterious expert. Among them, everyone was still discussing this matter, and many people had even sent out many pictures. In the pictures, there was a picture of a group of heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals being killed. This was a group of heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals, the most powerful army of their Lingshao treasured palace. Even if it was placed in the boundless star field, it would still be a powerful force. But now, it was actually killed by the mysterious force and the expert with one sword. This made them extremely shocked. Their strength was still far from the demigod realm. Chirp, chirp, chirp. At this moment, another hurried voice sounded, and the expressions of 7 or 8 people changed slightly. Not good. The demonic beast in the sky is going to attack. At this moment, the expression of a young man in the middle of them changed, and he hurriedly shouted, "Not good, not good. That demonic beast in the sky is going to attack. Quickly hide, quickly hide." Sounds of panic could be heard from the surroundings. In the sky, that terrifying demonic beast with a wingspan of 30 meters directly swooped down from the sky. Its eyes were filled with rage and bloodlust as it stared down, and its bone wings lightly trembled. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Black bone spears attacked from the sky. The bone spears were densely packed. There were more than 100,000 of them, covering an area of 40 to 50 kilometers. Run! An even more terrified voice came from the surroundings. In an instant, the entire city center of River City was in chaos. The sudden appearance of such a terrifying demonic beast caused many people to be filled with fear. Especially when the bone spears attacked, some people even collapsed on the ground. Clang! Right at this moment, a metallic sound flashed through everyone's minds. Soon after, they sensed that rays of golden light had appeared around them. In the middle of the golden light, there was an incomparably resplendent metallic sword. That is, the instant the golden light and the metallic sword appeared, the expressions of the 7 or 8 men and women from the Lingxiao treasured palace on the opposite street changed. They looked over in shock. Pung pung pung, chirp 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 chirp. In the sky, all the bone spears were scattered by the golden light, and the bright sharp sword directly pierced into the ferocious demon beast's head. The demon beast let out a terrified cry, and its body fell toward the ground. A golden light flashed again, and the demon beast's body disappeared. The one who attacked was naturally Aojian, a dark demonic bird with a demigod level 5. Have there been incidents of demonic beasts entering the city to attack before? Wang Xian looked at the lady beside him and asked curiously. No, nothing like this has ever happened before. All the demonic beasts will stay in the ancient land and will never come out. Yao Nu shook her head. Her face was also filled with astonishment. What's going on? Am I hallucinating? Where's that demonic beast? I felt a golden flash in front of my eyes just now. What happened? Did an expert kill that demonic beast? Why is that demonic bird missing now? Astonished voices came from the surroundings. The one who attacked just now was that middle-aged swordsman. On the opposite side, the 8 young men and women stared at Aojian and Wang Xian in astonishment. That golden glow and that golden sharp sword. The few of them looked at each other and felt that it was somewhat familiar. Wang Xian sensed the gazes from this side and swept a glance at the 8 of them. Then, he looked in the direction where the demonic bird was flying over. Vaguely, he sensed some slight movements in the direction where the demonic bird was flying over. Huarakayer, come, Daddy will bring you to the sky. Wang Xian was carrying a little fellow in one hand. With a move of his body, he flew into the sky instantly. Ao Qitian and the rest immediately followed behind. Which group of people? On the street, 8 young men and women revealed puzzled expressions. A sharp sword easily killed a demonic bird of demigod level 5. Sharp sword. Who posted the picture in the group just now? Feiyu. Ask them immediately and see if they have more pictures. The young man in the middle immediately said to a young man, Brother Mingjun, you mean that sharp sword? Heavenly Wind City is not far from Jiang City, and how many people on Earth can kill a rank 5 demigod demonic beast with one sword? No way. Brother Mingjun, should we report this to the commanders? The other party has already left. Furthermore, we can't be sure yet. It's useless to report it. The group of 8 conversed in a low voice. After hesitating for a moment, they walked towards the landmark building at the center of Jiang City. At the same time, at a height of 70 to 80,000 meters, Wang Xian was hugging Huar and Kayer. His eyes were flashing with a mystical light. The dragon eyes of the 5 elements of yin and yang were looking ahead. Over there was the direction of the ocean. Wang Xian's seaside villa used to be located there. Wow, wow, Daddy, 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 we're flying. We're flying. Hua Er's excited voice came from the side. At this moment, Wang Xian raised his eyebrows slightly. I'm afraid that Earth is going to undergo a mutation, he said faintly. Change? What kind of change? Yao Nu, who was at the side, could not help but ask. The land is gathering. In the future, the land may be the land and the ocean will be the ocean. Wang Xian mumbled, moreover, there might be other things happening. This time, Wang Xian really witnessed the change on Earth. The current Earth was being carried by a group of gods with a powerful ability and flew towards the depths of the endless starry sky. And now, the bottom of the Earth began to move. Wang Xian could sense that the earth was extraordinary. With the appearance of the demonic beasts, I'm afraid that the change this time is not a good thing for some people. He continued to speak and frowned slightly. The land is gathering. This? Yao Nu, who was at the side, widened her eyes slightly. Her eyes were filled with shock. Let's go. Wang Xian's face also revealed a look of deep thought. With a move of his body, everyone instantly appeared in Emo Qinglong's villa. At this moment, the group of draconids, Emojio, and his family were gathered in the villa. Greetings, Dragon King. Upon seeing Wang Xian's appearance, the group of draconids hurriedly greeted him. Emojio's wife, son, father-in-law, and mother-in-law also greeted him hurriedly. Qinglong, let's find a place tomorrow and call the Land family over for a gathering. Wang Xian nodded at them and gave an order to the demonic azure dragon. He had initially planned to gather in 2 days. However, he realized that the earth had undergone a change and demonic beasts had appeared. It was time to gather with them in advance. Chapter 1859 1859 Family Banquet 3. This time, Lan Qingyue, Guan Shuqing, and the other girls did not follow him to Earth. Wang Xian was prepared to bring their families to the supernatural continent. When Earth was undergoing a change, he was prepared to ask them if they wanted to go to the supernatural continent to hide for a while. It's the Dragon King. I'll inform them now. Emo Qinglong nodded. Oh right, how's the situation at Ajaya's house? Wang Xian asked Emo Yuan, who was beside him. Dragon King, the royal family of Ajaya's queen is fine. In their region, the royal family of Ajaya's queen seems to be quite powerful now. Emo Yuan replied. All right. Wang Xian nodded his head and swept his gaze across Emojio and his family. There might be some changes on Earth after this. All the draconids will move their families over to Jiang City and settle down here in the future. It's the Dragon King. The group of draconids immediately nodded their heads respectfully. Emojio, this must be the child. The little guy is quite talented. Wang Xian looked at Emojio's son and said with a face full of pride, I'm glad to meet you, Dragon King. Emojio quickly said to his son, I'm glad to meet you, Dragon King. He immediately knelt on the ground and kowtowed. Get up. I'll give you a small gift. Cultivate well in the future. Wang Xian flicked his finger and a sharp sword that was emitting a divine glow appeared in front of him. This sword will be with you for a long time. You don't have to change it until you reach the godly state. He said with a smile. Thank you, Dragon King. Louis looked at the sharp sword that was emitting a faint demonic aura in front of him. His eyes were filled with excitement. What a powerful sword. Moreover, it's a weapon that can grow. Yao Nu stood at the side and looked at it enviously. Thank you, Dragon King. Emojio's parents-in-law thanked him immediately. There's no need. Wang Xian shook his head. With a wave of his arm, an armor made from the dragon scale of the dragon race from the supernatural continent appeared. I'll give this to your wife, Emojio. Attacks below the level of a demigod are completely ineffective. As he spoke, he threw it over. Thank you, Dragon King. Emojio's wife quickly responded. Wang Xian smiled and walked upstairs. Dragon King, this is a treasure obtained from killing Tianfeng's Heaven's Pride expert. It's quite extraordinary. When he arrived upstairs, Ao Qitian handed over the green wooden box. Oh. He took it and looked at it. After opening the box, a hint of surprise appeared on his face. Just this box alone was extraordinary. It was at least a material at the peak of the demigod level. When he opened the box, there were many sharp swords that were the size of a finger hidden inside. With a flick of his finger, the sharp swords flew out of the box and immediately became bigger, bringing with them a terrifying gust of wind. This treasure is indeed extraordinary. Wang Xian sized it up. With a move of his palm, the 5 elements millstone appeared in his hand. Ever since Wang Xian's rapid improvement, the 5 elements millstone could not keep up with his improvement. Now, it seemed to be of little value. He placed the sword box on the 5 elements millstone. The 5 divine dragons on it immediately devoured it. With a move of Wang Xian's palm, the 5 divine dragons opened their mouths and spat out sharp swords one after another. It's of the wind attribute. Although it's a little inconsistent with the 5 elements millstone, it can still increase one's strength, he said faintly. Elder Song, the Dragon King is going to call all his friends and relatives to hold a family banquet tomorrow. Prepare the banquet hall on the top floor of your Song mansion. Mo Qinglong walked out of the villa and immediately began to prepare for the family banquet tomorrow. The Song family was the most powerful in Jiang City now, so some things were easier for them to handle. Good. Don't worry, Elder Demon. Leave this matter to me. By the way, Elder Demon, the Dragon King said that he wanted to find a place to live. I've looked for several places and found a good place. When do you think you can let the Dragon King take a look? Elder Song said happily. Okay, I'll have to trouble you, Elder Song. I'll tell the Dragon King. No trouble, Elder Song quickly said. The Dragon King is preparing for a family banquet. It looks like he'll have to prepare well. After hanging up the call with Azure Dragon, Elder Song muttered to himself and immediately walked towards the Song Corporation building in the center. He had to make sure that the arrangements for tomorrow's banquet were properly made. Meanwhile, in Jiang City, the people from the Lan, Shui, Wei, and Qin families quickly received news from Azure Dragon. The Dragon King had returned and was preparing to invite them to a banquet. This caused everyone in the big families in Jiang City to show a look of astonishment. Among them, only the Lan family learned that the Dragon King was still alive a few days ago. Everyone else thought that Wang Xian had already died. The Lan family and the Guan family thought that their daughter was killed along with the Dragon King by the sea god. They did not expect that the Dragon King was still alive. This made the big families in Jiang City look excited. Their families were extremely glorious when the Dragon King was still alive. After the sea god destroyed the Dragon Palace, their families gradually declined. There were even enemies of the Dragon King who secretly attacked them. This made them retreat to protect themselves, and all of them settled down in Jiang City. Their families were no longer as glorious as before. Even in Jiang City, when an ancient land suddenly appeared in Jiang City, it was because of the rise of a young lady from the Song family. From then on, the Song family in Jiang City was revered. When they faced the current Song family, they treated them with the same respect as the Song family in the past. Although the Song family treated them quite well, their status had changed completely. I didn't expect Brother Wang Xian to still be alive. As long as he's alive, it's good. In House Wei, Sister Li, Uncle Zhang, and Aunt Zhang, who had married into House Wei, were delighted when they heard the news. They had watched Wang Xian and Xiao Yu grow up. They were considered Wang Xian's only relatives, even if they were not related by blood. The Dragon King is still alive and has returned. However, the world has changed. At Sister Li's in-laws' house, father-in-law Wei Qinghua and mother-in-law were sitting at the side with slight surprise in their eyes. However, they quickly said this with a frown. At that time, when Shaoli had married into House Wei, it had not been very pleasant for them. However, they were very satisfied with their daughter-in-law later on. House Wei had flourished for a time because of the Dragon King, but it had also been lonely because of the Dragon King. As for the Dragon King, Wei Qinghua and the others were the most complicated. Although the world has changed and is no longer the Dragon King's world, we are still Shaoli's family after all. Let's go over tomorrow. A skinny camel is still bigger than a horse. No matter how weak the Dragon King is, he is still weaker than someone like the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. Ordinary people still can't be compared to him. This family banquet held in the Song Corporation's banquet hall can be seen from this. Sister Li's husband, Wei Jiwen, said from the side. Yes. Wei Qinghua and the others nodded their heads. This was considered a family banquet, so they naturally had to go. In the other families, everyone was also very surprised by the return of the Dragon King. Just like the saying that a lean camel is bigger than a horse, the decline of the Dragon King was not comparable to the Lingxiao Palace, but the ordinary forces should still be incomparable to it. Chapter 1860. 1860 Family Banquet 4. The Change of the Sun and the Moon. The Change of Families. Wang Xian's invitation to the family of House Lan and House Wei did not cause much of a stir in Jiang City. More than 100 heavenly soldiers and generals were slaughtered by a mysterious force in Tianfeng City. Which force dared to openly provoke the Ling Shao treasured palace? Some cities along the coast were attacked by some demonic beasts. More than 1 million people were killed or injured. The heavenly soldiers and generals moved out to kill the demonic beasts. There's a message from the Western continent. They discovered in horror that the entire Western continent is approaching the Eastern continent. Is it the movement of the Earth's crust or the Earth's change again? The continents on the continent are beginning to change. At night, Wang Xian managed to coax Hua Er and Kai with great difficulty. He sat in front of the computer and checked the messages one by one. Just as Wang Xian had expected, the Earth had undergone a change. Furthermore, Wang Xian had a premonition that the Earth might not be as peaceful as it was now. This might not be a good thing for most people. However, for a small number of people, this might be a huge opportunity. I wonder what kind of existence the Earth was in the past. After the recovery of the spiritual energy, such a huge change could happen. Wang Xian mumbled as his eyes sparkled. After checking some information, he went into his room to rest for a while. The next morning, Wang Xian was woken up by the two little fellows. The flowers did not grow quickly today. Instead, they pestered Wang Xian to play with them. Dragon King, I have informed the Lan family and the other families yesterday that the banquet will be held in the banquet hall of the Song Group building. The banquet hall of the Song Group is the best guest house in the entire Jiang City. Everyone should be here on time this afternoon. Just now, Elder Song called me and told me that the villa has been found. Dragon King, are you going to take a look personally? Do you still need to take a look? Not long after, Mo Qinglong walked in and reported to Wang Xian. Yes, you can go and take a look at the villa. Almost everything is fine. Wang Xian nodded and said to Mo Qinglong, It's the Dragon King. I'll go and take a look now. Mo Qinglong nodded and walked out immediately. Daddy, where are we going to play? Where are we going to play? At this moment, Hua Er's voice came from the side. Don't be so playful. I'll bring you guys to have some good food at noon. Wang Xian patted her head and said with a smile. Time passed slowly. At the Song Group, the Lan family and Guan family arrived early and headed towards the banquet hall of the Song Group. Elder Song had already arranged for people to receive them in the banquet hall. People from various families arrived one after another. There were elders and children, and they were relatively familiar with each other. Elder Qin, Elder Shui, and the rest of the elders gathered together and chatted. When they talked about the Dragon King who was about to arrive, they couldn't help but sigh. Their faces were filled with anticipation. They hadn't seen each other for more than 10 years. Time didn't leave too many traces on their faces. The recovery of spiritual essence and the cultivation method had greatly extended their lives. Compared to the group of elders, there were many more teenagers. There were more teenagers under the age of 10. Sister Li's child, Shui Jing's child, and the new recruits of the Lan family and the Qin family. The group of people gathered together, and it was extremely lively. Let's go, let's go, let's eat delicious food. As time slowly approached noon, the voices of the two little fellows could be heard in Mo Qinglong's villa. Wang Xian led the two little fellows towards the center of the city. Behind him, a group of draconids followed. Master and the others in Ling Zhao's palace suddenly sent an urgent message. We're going back. At this moment, in the Songshi Group's building, a group of 10 people were sitting in a luxurious office. A middle-aged youth took out his phone. When he saw the message his master sent him, he frowned slightly. I received it too. We received it too. We just came out to play, but they're in such a hurry to send us back. Is it related to what happened recently? The young men beside them also took out their phones and asked in surprise. Brother Feiyu, you have left so quickly. In the office, Song Hanyu's expression changed slightly when she heard that they were leaving. She immediately stood up and asked in surprise. I didn't expect it to be so sudden. I'm afraid I can't stay here any longer this time. Han Feiyu also frowned slightly and said helplessly, Are you leaving already? Song Hanyu was slightly disappointed. Miss Song, thank you for your hospitality this time. Next time, we will definitely stay here for a few more days. A young man next to them said with a smile. How about brothers? It's already noon now. Let's have a meal before leaving. You shouldn't be in a hurry, right? Song Shanji quickly came over and said with a smile. That's right, Brother Feiyu. Brothers and sisters, you haven't played well. You have to eat well. I'll get someone to prepare the richest delicacies in this generation of Jiang City. You know the delicacies on earth. Song Hanyu invited with a smile. Brother Mingjun? The young man called Han Feiyu looked at the young man in the middle. Miss Song is so kind. Let's have lunch before we leave. The young man nodded with a smile. Okay, our song group's banquet hall is on the top floor. Brother Feiyu, let's go there first. From the top floor, we can overlook the entire Jiang City. Song Hanyu said with a smile on his face. He stood up and led the way. Okay. The group followed behind and took the elevator to the top floor. Big brothers, our song group's banquet hall is the most luxurious banquet hall in the entire Jiang City. We have gathered the most delicious ingredients and chefs of the Jiang City generation. We will definitely satisfy you. Song Shanji said to them in a flattering manner. Little brother Ji's talent is not bad. Last time, I wanted Master to take him as a disciple. At that time, Master was not satisfied with my cultivation, so he did not agree. But recently, I have made a breakthrough. Not long ago, I mentioned it to Master. The problem should not be too big. If you agree, Hanyu, then Master will be even happier. Han Feiyu looked at Song Shanji and smiled, then said to Song Hanyu in a low voice. Really? Song Hanyu's face was slightly happy, but then she frowned slightly. But if I want to join the Lingxiao Treasured Palace, I still need grandfather and the others to agree. I can let Xiao Ji join for the time being? Yes, that's fine. Han Feiyu nodded slightly at her. Song Hanyu saw him staring at her, and her face turned slightly red. She could not help but quicken her pace. I'll go get the chef to make some preparations first. As she spoke, she walked over quickly, and Song Shanji followed behind her with excitement. That's fine, Feiyu. This girl has to have talent and face. A few youths at the side winked at Han Feiyu. This made him raise his head proudly. Oh! In the banquet hall on the top floor of the Song Corporation, when Song Hanyu walked in, she was slightly stunned. Chapter 1861 1861 Family Banquet 5. What's going on? Why are there so many people in our banquet hall? A surprised voice came from Song Shanji, who was following behind him. He looked at the entire banquet hall. There were hundreds of people gathered inside, and they were sitting and talking. There were children running around and shouting. This caused the entire banquet hall to become noisy. When Song Hanyu saw the situation inside, her expression changed drastically. She walked in with a cold expression. Oh, that's Miss Song. In the hall, when some people saw someone enter, they looked over and revealed stunned expressions. Hello, Miss Song. They recognized Song Hanyu. The people in front immediately stood up and greeted her with a smile. The current Song Hanyu was only a hair's breadth away from the favored son of heaven. She was the son of fate of Jiang City. Her strength was the strongest in the entire Jiang City, and the Song family rose rapidly because of her existence. The Lan family, Guan family, and the other families could not be compared to the Song group at all. After all, the Lan family, Guan family, Qin family, and Shui family did not even have a single insightful void martial artist in their families. What is Miss Song doing here? Could it be that the Dragon King has invited her as well? In the front, Old Qin, Old Shui, and the others noticed the situation behind them and stood up in slight surprise. They directly walked over to welcome them. What are you all doing here? Who told you to come here? Song Hanyu swept her cold gaze across everyone in the hall. Brother Feiyu and the others were about to leave, and she had invited them to a banquet, but she ended up seeing such a noisy scene in her own banquet hall. This made her expression extremely awkward. Could it be that she wanted Brother Feiyu and the others from the Lingxiao Treasured Palace to eat together with this group of people in this environment? This was absolutely impossible. It was simply an insult to Brother Feiyu and the others. Song Hanyu's cold words caused the entire hall to instantly fall silent. Old Qin, Old Shui, and a few other old men who were walking over froze, their faces showing a trace of embarrassment. Miss Song, the Dragon King has returned. We are gathered here today. When we came here just now, it was the people from the Song group who welcomed us. Old Shui bowed and said to Song Hanyu, Dragon King? However, as soon as Old Shui finished speaking, Song Shanji's face instantly darkened and he roared in a low voice. Dragon King? Where is he? I, Song Hanyu, would like to see him. When Song Hanyu heard this name, she looked a little embarrassed. Her younger brother had been knocked unconscious for a day because of the Dragon King. She did not understand why her grandfather was so stubborn. Now, with the strength of the Song group, they could completely monopolize 80% of the business in Jiang City. In the end, his grandfather gave up 30% of the business because of the Dragon King's relatives in Jiang City. Now, the Dragon King's banquet was arranged in the Song group. If he hadn't invited the disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace today, she might not have said anything about his grandfather, but now? Song Hanyu's words stunned everyone in the hall. They were a little stunned, and their faces were a little ugly. All of you, get out. At this moment, Song Hanyu's cold voice sounded. These words entered everyone's ears, making the faces of Old Shui, Old Qin, and the others extremely ugly. What? This is our Song group. Why aren't you getting out? Motherfucker, what Dragon King? Bullshit Dragon King, Song Shanji shouted with an extremely cold expression. When he thought about how he had been injured by the Dragon King and his unstable state had fallen, he became extremely angry. Yes. Old Qin and Old Shui's faces darkened. They bowed and walked out with some humiliation. Walala. In the entire hall, the 200 to 300 people who had arrived all stood up silently and walked out. What's wrong? Han Feiyu and the other three followed closely behind. They glanced at the group of people who were walking out and asked Song Hanyu and the others. It's my grandfather. A long-lost and lonely Dragon King has returned to hold a banquet here. I don't know what my grandfather is thinking. Song Hanyu smiled when she saw Han Feiyu and the others enter. The coldness on her face disappeared. A Dragon King who disappeared for more than 10 years has returned. If it wasn't for my grandfather giving him face, who would he be? He even attacked me. A trace of anger flashed in Song Shanji's eyes, and he said unhappily, Oh, a Dragon King who disappeared for more than 10 years? Han Feiyu and the others raised their eyebrows and didn't care at all. Brother Feiyu, you guys sit here. This side is cleaner. I'll ask the chef to prepare the most famous food in Jiang City. Song Hanyu said with a smile. Phew. Their conversation clearly entered the ears of Old Shui, Old Qin, and the others. When they saw Song Hanyu's attitude, their faces were full of embarrassment and bitterness. During these 10 years, countless families rose and fell. Even the richest family could become an ordinary person in more than 10 years. Although the Dragon King once suppressed the entire earth, after all, Sai, a middle-aged man from the Land family side, his face was filled with helplessness. The surrounding people also took a deep breath. Thinking about them, because of the Dragon King, all the big families and sects obeyed them. Now, a woman was able to chase them out. The former Dragon King had fallen in these 10 years. They had also fallen. 200 to 300 people walked out with bitter faces. Elder Imo, Elder Song. When they walked out of the Song Corporation's gate with weak faces, they happened to see Imo Qinglong and Elder Song walking over. The two of them had just finished looking at the villa and rushed over. Oh? Imo Qinglong and Elder Song also saw Elder Shui and the others. When they saw a few hundred people walking out of the villa, their faces were full of astonishment. Elder Shui, Elder Qin, how did you come out? Elder Song was slightly stunned, and quickly walked over to ask with some enthusiasm. Now that the Dragon King had returned, his former family would also return. Elder Song, your granddaughter. When Elder Shui and the others heard the Dragon King's words, their expressions changed, and they said hesitantly, "My granddaughter." Elder Song was slightly stunned, and then he found that Elder Shui and the others looked very embarrassed. As someone who had worked hard in Jiang City for almost his entire life, he quickly guessed the situation. "Elder Shui, Elder Qin, what's going on? Just tell us." Emo Qinglong walked over with a slight frown, his eyes shining. "Who?" "Elder Emo, leave this matter to me. It's my fault for not disciplining him properly. It's my fault for not doing a good job today." Elder Song, who was at the side, took a deep breath and said with an embarrassed expression, "Everyone, I'm very sorry for making you suffer. I'll bring everyone up." As he spoke, he bowed to Elder Qin, Elder Shui, and the others and said with a solemn expression, Chapter 1862 1862 Family Banquet 6. Oh, this? Elder Song's attitude caused Elder Shui, Elder Qin, and the others to be slightly stunned. Although Song Qingshi's strength was inferior to his granddaughter's, he was at least a profound void martial expert. Moreover, as the head of the Song family, he was still very dignified. Even his granddaughter had to be respectful in front of him. Now, his attitude caused Elder Shui and the others to be extremely surprised. "Let's go, everyone. I want to see who has the guts to chase you out," Elder Song said to Elder Shui and the others with a livid face. "This?" Elder Shui and the others hesitated slightly. "You guys go up first. The Dragon King will be here soon. I'll pick them up from here," Emo Qinglong said to Elder Shui and the others. "Don't worry, old Emo. I'll take care of this," Old Song promised to Emo Qinglong. "Okay, Old Song, thank you." Emo Qinglong nodded at him. He knew Old Song very well. "Dad, why did you call us here?" At this moment, more than 20 people walked over. One of the middle-aged men shouted at Old Song. Beside the middle-aged man was a woman. The woman was pushing a wheelchair, and a girl was sitting on it. The girl looked very similar to Song Hanyu, but her legs seemed to have been lost. Her eyes were a little dim. "What is it? Go and take a look at that unfilial daughter of yours," Elder Song shouted at the middle-aged man in a stern voice. His face was filled with anger as he directly walked into the company building. When the middle-aged man saw the furious scene of his father, he was also slightly startled. A fearful expression appeared on his face. His father had never been so angry since the rise of the Song family. Unfilial daughter? When he heard these 3 words, his heart was slightly startled. He only had 2 daughters. One had lost both her legs in the ancient land, and the other was the strongest person in Jiang City. What happened to Hanyu? The middle-aged man chased after her with a face full of surprise. "Father, The people of the Song Corporation were also slightly shocked, and they hurriedly followed behind. Old Qin and Old Shui looked at each other with slight astonishment and followed behind. The group of several hundred people once again walked toward the top floor of the Song Corporation building. When they reached the top floor, they saw Old Song walk toward the banquet hall with a face full of anger. The group of people hurriedly followed behind. When they entered the banquet hall, everyone saw a group of young men and women chatting and laughing beside the window of the banquet hall. Song Hanyu sat beside a young man with a bright smile on her face. When Elder Song saw this scene, he walked over with a dark face. The group of several hundred people came in again and immediately attracted the attention of Song Hanyu and the others in the banquet hall. "Grandfather, you!" Song Hanyu and Song Shanji were slightly stunned when they saw Elder Song and the others come in. Their expressions were a little ugly. "Grandfather, these are..." Song Hanyu saw her grandfather walking over with a gloomy expression. She frowned and stood up, ready to introduce the group of disciples from the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. The group of disciples from the Lingxiao Treasured Palace frowned slightly when they saw their group walk in. An unhappy expression appeared in their eyes. However, Elder Song, who had just walked over, did not let Song Hanyu finish her sentence. He directly slapped her. A resounding voice immediately resounded throughout the entire banquet hall. When they saw this scene, Elder Shui, Elder Qin, and everyone from the Song family behind them were all stunned. At this moment, even Song Hanyu was a little stunned. Her grandfather had actually slapped her. Her grandfather, who had always doted on her, had given her a merciless slap in front of so many people. Grandfather, why? Why did you hit my sister? This is our Song family, they. Bang! Shut up. Song Shanji, who was at the side, hurriedly explained to her grandfather with a face full of shock. However, before he could finish speaking, his entire body was sent flying. That's right, he was sent flying and spat out a mouthful of blood. This caused everyone in the Song family behind him to be shocked. Grandfather, you... Song Shanji's face revealed a terrified expression. He looked at his grandfather with some fear as he looked in the direction of his parents. Grandfather, what did I do wrong? Song Hanyu's eyes were filled with tears as she said unwillingly. Slap. Don't you know what you did wrong? As soon as Song Hanyu finished her words, the angry elder Song slapped her again. At this moment, everyone could feel his anger. Dad, the middle-aged man behind couldn't help but shout. Today, the Dragon King invited relatives and friends to a banquet here. Are you going to kick them out? Elder Song stared at Song Hanyu with a cold gaze. The Dragon King had returned now. With the Dragon King's current terror, his granddaughter, the most powerful person in Jiang City, could be destroyed in a snap of the fingers in front of the Dragon King. Now, he had to teach his grandson a harsh lesson so that the Dragon King would not blame him. Moreover, he was also thinking about the future of the Song family. Dragon King. Isn't that the Dragon King? Wasn't he the Dragon King more than 10 years ago? Is she still the Dragon King now? What is he now? Another slap landed on her face. Tears welled up in Song Hanyu's eyes as she shouted at her grandfather with some stubbornness and anger. You unfilial daughter, you still don't know if you are in the wrong. Elder Song raised his hand and slapped Song Hanyu again. Song Hanyu stubbornly stared at her grandfather, his face unmoved. Slap. The sound came again, but this time, the slap didn't land on Song Hanyu's face, but was blocked by a palm. This old man, isn't he a bit too much? Even if it's his own granddaughter, he can't hit her like this. A voice sounded. Han Feiyu, who was sitting at the side, stood up and grabbed Elder Song's arm as he said indifferently, Huh. Elder Song was slightly stunned and stared coldly at Han Feiyu. Let me introduce myself. I am Han Feiyu, a disciple of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. These are my senior brothers and sisters. Miss Song invited us to dine here. Why? Are our faces inferior to that of the Dragon King? The corners of Han Feiyu's mouth curled up slightly as he said indifferently to Elder Song. Everyone, we're here to eat. You people are a bit of a downer. Just as Han Feiyu finished speaking, a youth beside him placed his chopsticks on the table with a crisp sound. The Lingxiao Treasured Palace? They're disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. No wonder Miss Song is so warm to them. Disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. Everyone around was shocked when they heard Han Feiyu's words. Any of the disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace had the strength of the profound void realm. Just like the godly palace in the sky, they were high and mighty. Compared to them, they were two completely different existences. Old Qin Shui and everyone around him had solemn expressions. Chapter 1863. 1863 Family Banquet 7. Lingxiao Palace. Elder Song was also slightly stunned when he heard Han Feiyu's words. The words Lingxiao Palace could intimidate everyone on Earth. Anyone who saw the Lingxiao Palace would have to be respectful. The strength of those who followed the gods to descend was definitely not something that people on Earth could compare to. Grandfather, Brother Feiyu, and I will eat first. Don't disturb us. We'll talk after we finish eating. Song Hanyu took a deep breath and said to Elder Song with an embarrassed expression, Oh, don't disturb you? Ling Shao Palace? Ling Shao Palace. Elder Song said angrily when he heard Song Hanyu's words. His expression turned cold again. So what if they are disciples of the Ling Shao treasure hall? Get out immediately. He looked at Han Feiyu and the others with some anger as he roared in a low voice. His angry roar shocked everyone. Even Song Hanyu's expression completely stiffened as a trace of panic appeared in her eyes. Even when her grandfather had hit her just now, she had not been this flustered. What? The disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace were also slightly stunned. Their expressions changed as they slowly became embarrassed. You are saying that you want us to get out? The youth in the middle narrowed his eyes slightly and stared coldly at Elder Song. Grandfather? No, my grandfather is him. Haha, so what if you are disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace? Do you want me to say it again? Get out. Song Hanyu panicked and hurriedly explained to them. However, Elder Song coldly shouted and interrupted her. This caused Song Hanyu's expression to change drastically. Pong, old thing, say it again. Do you believe me? We will kill you immediately. A young man from the Ling Shao treasure hall stood up. A terrifying aura was emitted from his body and rushed towards Elder Song. Humph. Elder Song snorted, and a peak of the profound void martial stage aura rushed towards the young man. The overwhelming power caused the young man's forehead to be filled with cold sweat, and his face turned pale. He stared at Elder Song in fear. What? The expressions of the young men from the Lingxiao treasured palace changed drastically. The expressions of the surrounding people also changed drastically when they felt Elder Song's aura. Especially Song Hanyu and the rest of the Song family, they stared at Elder Song with their mouths agape. Grandfather's strength, how is this possible? Song Shanji, who was lying on the ground, widened his eyes in disbelief. You, with the strength of the peak of the Dimension Sundering Peak, do you think that the strength of the peak of the Dimension Sundering Peak can suppress us? Do you believe that we can annihilate your Song family in an instant? The rest of the young men from the Lingxiao treasured palace stood up slowly. They glared at Elder Song coldly and threatened him angrily. They were not afraid even when facing a peak of the insightful void martial stage. That was because they were disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace. If someone dared to kill them, the experts from the Lingxiao treasured palace would kill them all. The atmosphere instantly became heavy. Everyone was shocked by Elder Song's strength, and they were also afraid of the background of the youths of the Lingxiao treasured palace. However, faced with the threat of the youths of the Lingxiao treasured palace, Elder Song did not show the slightest fear on his face. He continued to stare at them coldly. What's going on? At this moment, a voice came from behind. Hearing this voice, everyone was slightly shocked. It was too familiar. Even though more than 10 years had passed, they were still very familiar with it. Dragon King. Everyone immediately turned their heads. When they saw the young man wearing the black clothes of the seven-colored divine dragon, they were shocked. They stared at him closely. Compared to more than 10 years ago, he looked younger and more handsome. No one would think that he was a young man in his 30s. A unique aura emanated from him, and he was filled with confidence. A sense of nobility that seemed to come from the soul was reflected in him. The entire banquet hall seemed to be focused on him. The group of young men in the soaring heavens palace had extraordinary auras, but compared to them, they were like crows and phoenixes. Dragon King! Dragon King! The group of people immediately made a path and shouted at Wang Xian. Wang Xian looked at the familiar figures around him and nodded slowly at them. He walked into the palace while Yao Nu, who was holding the hands of the two little fellows, looked around curiously. Ao Jian, Ao Qitian, and Mo Qinglong, and the group of draconids followed behind him. Dragon King? Seeing that everyone was looking at the back, Song Hanyu looked at Wang Xian. She was also slightly taken aback when she sensed his otherworldly aura. When the group of young men from the soaring heavens palace saw Wang Xian's face, they were slightly taken aback. They quickly looked to the side. That familiar middle-aged swordsman and the demonic beast that looked like an ape. Everything was exactly the same as the group of people they saw yesterday. This caused all of their expressions to change slightly. Behind them, it's them, It's them. Suddenly, Han Feiyu looked at the group of people behind Wang Xian in horror. His pupils contracted slightly. Yesterday, they saw with their own eyes that the sharp sword had killed a demonic beast at the level of a demigod. They had suspected that the middle-aged swordsman might be the mysterious powerhouse who had killed more than 100 heavenly soldiers and generals in Tianfeng City. Therefore, he had specially asked the other disciples of the Ling Shao treasured palace. He received photos one after another. Some of the photos were of a group of more than 40 experts at the peak of the insightful Void Realm and demigods. They were all wearing the same clothes. This made him absolutely sure that the group of people in front of him was the mysterious powerful force that had killed more than 100 heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. At this moment, his body trembled and a look of fear appeared on his face. The other party was a ruthless person who dared to kill over 100 heavenly soldiers and generals. They had offended the other party, didn't that mean? At the thought of this, he became even more terrified. How is this possible? The 7 disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace by the side also realized it. They looked at each other and saw the panic in the other party's eyes. Dragon King, it's me, Song Qingshi, who didn't do a good job. When Elder Song saw Wang Xian walking over, he hurriedly knelt on the ground and apologized. It's all right, get up. Wang Xian waved his arm gently, causing Elder Song to stand up immediately. Around him, the Shui, Qin, and Song families were slightly shocked when they saw Elder Song kneeling down immediately. Which family are you guys going to destroy? Wang Xian looked at the 8 young men from the Lingxiao treasured palace and asked them calmly. Gulp. The 8 people in the Lingxiao treasured palace gulped when they saw the calm look in the young man's eyes. Their eyes were filled with panic. Behind Wang Xian, Ao Jian, Ao Qitian, and all the draconids were also looking at them slowly. Sir, it's our fault. It's our fault. Plop. Under the shocked gazes of Song Hanyu, Song Shanji, and the rest, the 8 young men and women from the Lingxiao palace knelt down immediately. Chapter 1864. 1864. Everyone in 1864 was shocked. My lord, we are in the wrong. Please forgive us. The 8 young men and women from the Lingxiao treasured palace knelt on the ground, their faces filled with panic. They had never thought that the Dragon King that Song Hanyu and her brother were talking about was actually this group of people in front of them. If they knew, why would they be sitting here? This group of people were ruthless people who dared to kill more than 100 heavenly soldiers and generals. Wouldn't they be even more unblinking if they killed them? Their so-called background might be nothing in the eyes of this group of people. The 8 people knelt on the ground with terrified faces and begged for mercy. Now, he only hoped that the other party would spare their lives. This, Brother Feiyu. Song Hanyu was completely stunned. Brother Feiyu of the Lingxiao treasured palace had actually knelt down to this outdated Dragon King. They were disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace and had an invincible background. They actually knelt down directly to the Dragon King. What's going on? Could it be that the former Dragon King has returned? Old Qin Shui and all the members of the surrounding families watched this scene in shock. The 8 disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace knelt down directly, which made them a little dazed. It was as if they had returned to the invincible Dragon King from more than 10 years ago. Anyone, any force, and any powerhouse had to bow and kneel in front of the Dragon King. Could it be that the once invincible Dragon King had returned again? Could it be that the Dragon King is a high-ranking official of the Lingxiao treasured palace? Otherwise, why would he? Song Hanyu mumbled to herself as she made a guess. Only the higher-ups of the Lingxiao treasured palace would make them kneel down in fear. If not, with the strength of the Lingxiao treasured palace, who else would be able to make them kneel down? Scram! Wang Xian swept his gaze across the 8 people of the Lingxiao treasured palace and said indifferently, Yes, yes. The 8 people felt relieved and heaved a heavy sigh of relief. Sir, we will scram now. We will scram now. Han Feiyu and the rest stood up slowly. They looked at the window at the side and retreated respectfully. Whoosh! Whoosh, whoosh. The few of them moved and flew directly from the window. It was as if they had narrowly escaped death. Wang Xian glanced at their figures indifferently and didn't pay any attention to them. They were merely the juniors of the Lingxiao treasured palace. He didn't take them seriously since they were only at the third or fourth level of the see-through realm. Seeing that they were kneeling on the ground in fear and trepidation, Wang Xian didn't bother with them. However, everyone was stunned when they saw the 8 disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace escaping in fear. This was especially so for Song Hanyu and Song Shanji. This was simply a reversal of their understanding. The once lonely Dragon King, with just a single sentence, made the people from the Lingxiao treasured palace kneel on the ground. Was the Dragon King really lonely? This sentence also appeared in everyone's mind. Old Qin, Old Shui, father-in-law, Uncle Zhang, Sister Li. Wang Xian turned around and greeted all his acquaintances with a smile. Little friend Wang Xian. Xiao Xian. At this moment, everyone in the banquet hall came to their senses. Old Shui, Old Qin, Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue's father, and Uncle Zhang walked over hurriedly. Xiao Xian, you guys have been missing for more than 10 years. We thought you guys. Is Qingyue all right? Lan Qingyue's father walked over and asked with slightly red eyes. Don't worry, father-in-law. Everything is fine. Initially, Qingyue and the rest were prepared to come back with me. However, due to some matters, they couldn't come over. If father-in-law wants to see them, I will bring you over in a few days. We have been unfilial all these years. Wang Xian said to Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing's parents. It's good that everything is fine. It's good that everything is fine. They nodded with smiles on their faces. Even though Guan Shuqing's father had some disputes with Wang Xian, he was slightly relieved at this moment. Wang Xian, you've been gone for more than 10 years. More than 10 years. Old Qin Shui looked at him and sighed with emotion. I won't be leaving for the time being. Wang Xian smiled at them. Come, call me uncle. Uncle. At this moment, Sister Li walked over with a child and called out to Wang Xian. Good girl, Sister Li. This kid is 10 years old, right? What's his name? Wang Xian looked at Sister Li's child and felt emotional. He reached out and touched the little guy's head. Uncle, my name is Wei Xian. The little guy looked up at Wang Xian and said obediently. Haha, Wei Xian. Good name, good name. When Wang Xian heard his name, he touched his head and laughed out loud. With a move of his hand, a fire spirit pearl that was emitting bright energy appeared in his hand. The bright fire spirit pearl contained a vast amount of energy. Wang Xian moved slightly and injected it into the little guy's body. This is a gift from uncle to you. Cultivate well in the future and protect your mother. The fire spirit pearl integrated into Wei Chengxian's body. Instantly, his body emitted a strong spirituality. The fire spirit pearl emitted an eye-catching light in his body and slowly dissipated. His strength, which was originally only at the body refinement level, was forcefully raised to the level of transcendence. The impurities in his body were instantly removed. On Earth, there were 2 levels before transcendence. One was body refinement, the other was transcendence, and the latter was transcendence. A 10-year-old kid had the strength of transcendence. This was equivalent to Wang Xian's strength when he dominated Earth back then. Thank you, little Xian. Thank you, Dragon King. Sister Li, Uncle Zhang, Aunt Zhang, and everyone from House Wei saw the changes in Wei Qingxian's body. A hint of shock flashed across their eyes. That terrifying fire spirit pearl was able to directly allow a 10-year-old kid to reach the extraordinary realm. It was simply shocking. When everyone around saw the Dragon King's ability, their hearts were filled with awe. Song Hanyu, Song Shanji, and the others also widened their eyes. Soon after, everyone in the Song family thought of the drastic increase in Elder Song's cultivation. The current head of the Song family was only at level 3 of the Profound Void martial stage in the past. Now, he had directly reached the peak of the Profound Void martial stage. In addition to the attitude of their head toward the Dragon King, they could guess that the reason for the rise in their head strength was probably because of the Dragon King. Daddy, I want it too. I want it too. At this moment, Huar's voice sounded. Everyone was stunned for a moment. They quickly looked at Huar and Kair, who were almost identical. That's the fire spirit pearl. Why do you elemental kids want it? When Wang Xian saw Huar running over, he pinched her cheek. No, I want it. I want it. The flower hugged his thigh and shouted nonstop. Okay, okay. Wang Xian took out a fire spirit pearl and handed it to her helplessly. Xiao Xian, is this your child? Everyone around was slightly stunned. Uncle Zhang looked at them and asked, They are not my children. I picked up these two little guys in the ancient land of Jade Lake. Wang Xian shook his head when he saw the curious gazes of everyone around him. You're the one who picked them up. We didn't pick them up. Dad, you're the one who picked them up. Wah wah wah. As soon as Wang Xian finished his sentence, the flower slapped his leg and started to cry. I didn't pick them up. I didn't pick them up. I was just joking with you. Be good, little princess. Yao Nu, who was holding the flower in her hand, immediately walked over and picked it up to coax it. In the past 2 days, Yao Nu could be considered to have integrated into the role of a wet nurse. Although she didn't have any milk, she could still coax the two little fellows very well. Yao Nu heavens favored. When Yao Nu walked over to coax the flower, the faces of the youths standing at the side changed greatly when they saw her face. Chapter 1865. 1865, under the shock of 1865 people. Yao female prodigy, ranked 16th on the prodigy roll. Out of the 20 prodigies, there were only 5 female prodigies in total. Among them, 3 female prodigies had peerless beauty. Among these 3 female prodigies, Yao female prodigies were included. The popularity of Yao female prodigies was like that of the former Heavenly Emperor superstars. Not only were they powerful, but they also had unrivaled popularity. Almost all the 2 to 3 billion people in the East knew about the Yao female prodigies. It was no exaggeration to say that this was the goddess in the eyes of billions of young people, a goddess who stood high and mighty. Among the group of prodigies, the Yao female prodigies were also one of the more arrogant ones. In front of all the men, they were as arrogant as swans. However, this Yao girl heaven's favorite actually appeared in front of them and even coaxed the daughter of the Dragon King. What was the relationship between the Dragon King and the Yao girl? Huar, don't cry, don't cry. Wang Xian looked at the flowers that were still crying and quickly took out a few fire spirit pearls to spin in front of her. Here, take it and play with it. He kept coaxing her. I want them too. Kair walked over at this moment. She pouted her little mouth and looked at Wang Xian. She seemed to be dissatisfied with his words just now. All right. Wang Xian took out more than 10 fire spirit pearls directly. Wang Xian had obtained quite a number of fire spirit pearls from the dragons. Among them, there were also dozens of fire spirit pearls at the demigod level. Come. Don't disturb Daddy. Let's go play. Yao Nu held the hands of the 2 little guys and shouted gently. HMPH, Daddy is such a bad guy. Hua Er glared at Wang Xian. Holding the fire spirit pearl, she pouted and followed Yao Nu to the side like a child playing with eggs. Dragon King, I'll bring them to play by the side. Yao Nu said to Wang Xian and walked to the side. This, Yao girl's heaven's favorite. All the young men around were in a daze. Brother Wang Xian, that Yao girl's heaven's favorite. Xue Jing widened his eyes slightly and looked at Wang Xian with envy. However, Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing's parents were slightly embarrassed and displeased. Don't think so much, you rascal. Wang Xian was also slightly embarrassed when he saw the odd expressions on Xue Jing and the young men around him. After all, there were 2 old men beside him. Huar and Kair were picked up by me in the ancient land of Jade Lake. They have an extraordinary status. As for that Yao girl, I picked up 2 little fellows and spared her life so that she could take care of them. Wang Xian had no choice but to shake his head and explain. Spare her life? Everyone around him was slightly stunned. Ancient land of Jade Lake? The pupils of some lively young middle-aged men suddenly constricted when they thought of this name. According to the information on the internet, The fifth divine son of the Lingxiao treasured palace had died in the ancient land of Jade Lake. Could it be? Everyone, come, come. Everyone, sit down first. The Dragon King arrived the evening before yesterday. Everyone, sit down and reminisce. At this moment, Elder Song said with a smile when he saw the group of people standing around him in a restrained manner. Good, good. The group of people smiled and nodded. Then, they sat down at the seats around them. At this moment, everyone had a vague understanding of the Dragon King. My young friend Wang Xian, we haven't seen each other for more than 10 years. We thought something had happened to you. Elder Shui, Elder Qin, and the rest of the elders looked at Wang Xian and said slowly, I've made all of you worried. In the past 10 years, I've also been tied down by some matters. That's why I wasn't able to come over. Wang Xian smiled and looked at them. It's been more than 10 years since we last met. It's really nice to meet all of you again. Haha, to be able to get to know the Dragon King is the greatest honor of our lives. Everyone laughed heartily with sincere smiles on their faces. Even though they had fallen into a low point, their past glory was already worth it. You joined the Lingxiao treasured palace, or the other 3 factions. At this moment, a voice filled with shock and doubt was heard. Shut up. The moment the voice was heard, Elder Song glared at his granddaughter with anger and shouted sternly. Wang Xian waved his hand and looked at Song Hanyu indifferently. Elder Qin, Elder Shui, and the rest were also very curious about her question. After all, he had disappeared for more than 10 years. I didn't join the Lingxiao treasured palace, nor did I join any other factions. It's a long story. Wang Xian didn't explain too much. After all, he couldn't tell them everything about the supernatural continent. Seeing that Wang Xian didn't want to say anything more, the rest of the people didn't ask any more questions. They started to talk about other things. Huff, huff. I didn't expect it to really be that group of people. It's that so-called former Dragon King. They actually dared to kill the heavenly soldiers and generals. However, at this moment, Han Feiyu and the others flew more than 100 kilometers in the sky above the sea and said with fear on their faces, Let's go back immediately and report to the commanders of the heavenly soldiers and generals. That Dragon King is dead. He's dead. He's dead. No matter how strong he is, if he dares to kill the heavenly soldiers and generals, our Lingxiao treasured palace will never let them go. The expressions of the 8 youths were slightly savage. Just now, when they knelt there, they felt extremely humiliated. However, if they didn't kneel, they might die. Kneeling to an earthling made them feel extremely humiliated. Let's go. The 8 of them flew up into the sky. In the sky was the towering Lingxiao treasured palace. However, if they wanted to enter the palace, they had to enter through the 4 gates of heaven. They could not enter through the rest of the gates. It would take them 3 to 4 hours to fly there. However, when they had flown more than 10 kilometers along the surface of the sea, the area at the bottom of the sea suddenly trembled. A power filled with deathly stillness came from below. What's going on? The 8 people were slightly stunned as they looked down in astonishment. What is this? Is this another divine kingdom? Han Feiyu stared at the pitch-black ground that slowly appeared below. His eyes were wide open and filled with shock. They looked at each other with joy in their eyes. Every newly born divine kingdom would have countless treasures. The gods risked their lives to come here for these divine kingdoms and the huge treasures within them. And now, a god kingdom had appeared beneath them. This was a huge opportunity for them. Roar! However, just as the 8 of them stopped in the sky and looked down, an extremely terrifying and earth-shattering sound rang out. The sound was filled with madness and madness. A whistling sound spread across the entire earth. The faces of Han Feiyu's group of 8, who were floating in the sky, were filled with shock. Without waiting for them to react, their bodies slowly turned black. Following that, they were directly reduced to ashes without a single trace. At this moment, a terrifying demon beast with 3 eyes, a long tail, and sharp thorns all over its body appeared in everyone's line of sight. The demonic beast was like a lizard, but it had a pair of wings. The eye between its brows was blood red. Roar! It lay in the middle of the black god country that had appeared, and it looked up at the Lingxiao treasured palace and roared again. Then, it flapped its wings and charged straight for the Lingxiao treasured palace. Chapter 1866. 1866, 1866 Demons and Demons. Roar! The earth-shattering sound rang out once again, startling the entire earth. Even the incomparably huge palace in the sky trembled slightly. At this moment, everyone on earth revealed shocked expressions. This violent roar was comparable to the majestic voice of the gods that had descended back then. The difference was that everyone could guess that this roar did not come from a human. Instead, it came from a powerful demonic beast. It could not be called a demonic beast, it should be called a demonic god. A godly state demonic beast. At this moment, the 3,000 to 4,000 meter long black, violent demonic beast directly attacked the enormous Lingxiao treasured palace in the sky. Its sharp claws carried barbs, and its body was filled with 5 to 6 meter long spikes. A pair of bone wings flapped, turning into a black stream of light. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the terrifying demonic god crashed heavily into the Lingxiao treasured palace. This collision shook the entire world. A 10,000-meter-long crack instantly appeared below the Lingxiao treasured palace. Roar! Seeing that the attack didn't break, the demon god was furious and charged up again. Boom! Another earth-shaking sound was heard. What's crashing into our palace? What happened? What a terrifying demon beast roar! This is a godly state demon beast, and this is a demon god. What happened on Earth? Why would a demon god-level creature appear? The entire Lingxiao treasured palace was trembling violently. Everyone on the Lingxiao treasured palace had shocked expressions on their faces. When they heard the violent roars, they revealed a trace of fear. There was actually an extremely terrifying demonic beast attacking their Lingxiao treasured palace. This was simply unimaginable. Beast, you're courting death. At this moment, a voice filled with dignity came from the sky above the skyscraping treasured palace. A figure emitting golden light appeared in the sky above the highest shrine of the skyscraping treasured palace. With a flash of his figure, he arrived directly below the skyscraping treasured palace. Damn it, I didn't expect that Earth would be able to revive a deity-level demonic beast so quickly. After all, this was once an eternal god-lord-level battlefield. Hundreds of god-lords died in order to wipe out that abyss-like demon beast race. In the Temple of the Soaring Heavens Treasure Hall, a few figures looked at the mirror in the center. The evil and terrifying demon beast below appeared in the mirror. Let's attack too. A goddess voice sounded. Not good, 2 more of these abyss layers have appeared. The battle gold peak below can be dealt with. Let's go to the other 2 abyss layers. At this moment, the expression of the figure beside him changed slightly, and he immediately said, "Let's go." The gods of the Lingxiao treasured palace were slightly startled, and they hurriedly flew towards the other 2 layers. Boom, boom. They had just flown out when they heard the incomparably loud sounds of battle coming from below. The battle between a god-level expert was almost earth-shattering. A god could destroy all living things on Earth within 5 minutes without any resistance. This was the terror of a god. The sounds of the battle between the god and the demon god from the skyscraping treasured palace in the sky spread to every corner of Earth. The entire East could clearly see the incomparably deep darkness and the dazzling golden light. Oh my god, what kind of demonic beast is that? It actually attacked the Lingxiao palace. What happened? What a terrifying energy. What a terrifying pressure. On the ground, everyone raised their heads to look at the battle in the sky, their bodies trembling. This was the first time they had seen a battle between gods. In front of this terrifying power, they felt like ants. If they didn't enter the godly state, they would eventually become ants. What's going on? What's going on over there? In Jiang City, in the banquet hall of the Song Group, everyone had shocked expressions when they heard the roars and sounds of battle from the seaside. That place was only a few hundred kilometers away from Jiang City. It wasn't too far away. Eh. Wang Xian heard the commotion from the other side. He turned his head and opened his dragon eyes of the yin-yang and five elements. He looked towards the direction of the sea. That is, when he saw a pitch-black ancient land appearing on the surface of the sea and saw the ferocious demonic beast that was fighting a metal-type god in the sky, he was slightly surprised. What is that? Is that a god fighting? Why is there the roar of a demonic beast? Old Shui, Old Qin, and the others opened their mouths slightly, filled with shock. Buzz. At this moment, Ao Qitian, who was standing at the side, looked up into the sky. He waved his arm, and a pair of eyes that were filled with three-colored Goyu flickered with brilliance. In front of him, a scene appeared. Below the Ling Shao treasure palace, the scene of the metal-type god fighting with the powerful demon god was clearly displayed in front of him. Everyone in the banquet had a slight change in expression, and their eyes revealed a look of shock. Dragon King, their strength is stronger than mine. Ao Qitian looked at the god and the terrifying demon beasts in the Ling Shao treasure palace and said in a low voice while his eyes flickered. Yes, they have already ignited 2 wisps of divine fire. Wang Xian nodded his head faintly, and his eyes were sparkling. I didn't expect the changes on Earth to be so fast. The dark demon beasts that appeared in the sky above Jiang City yesterday should have rushed out from the ancient land below. Igniting 2 wisps of divine fire? Everyone around was slightly shocked when they heard the conversation between Wang Xian and Ao Qitian. Following that, they looked at Wang Xian, Ao Qitian, and the rest with a look of shock in their eyes. From the conversation between Wang Xian and his subordinates, they understood one piece of information. That was, that ape-like creature was a godlike existence. As for the Dragon King, it went without saying. The Dragon King and the rest actually. Everyone was extremely shocked. Some of the family members looked at each other and could see the shock in each other's eyes. However, Elder Song and the group of draconids were not surprised at all. Even Yaonu calmed down as her eyes flickered. That was because they had already guessed the Dragon King's strength. My young friend Wang Xian, what has happened to Earth? Elder Shui and the rest suppressed the shock in their hearts. They gulped and asked Wang Xian in a hoarse voice. Our Earth used to be an ancient battlefield. Many gods have fallen here, or even stronger existences. The recovery of the spiritual energy has revived the divine kingdoms of those gods. The divine kingdoms are the ancient lands that you see. In this ancient land, there are demonic beasts and a sliver of hope left behind by the fallen gods waiting to be revived. As for that demonic beast, I don't really understand it. However, the next Earth is a blessed land. It might also be a dangerous land. Blessings and misfortunes go hand in hand. Blessings and misfortunes go hand in hand. Wang Xian said indifferently as he looked at other places. He could see that there were a few dark ancient lands that had revived. Chapter 1867. 1867, 1,867 demons and demons descended. What? Everyone was shocked when they heard Wang Xian's words. Earth was once a powerful ancient battlefield. The ancient land was the divine kingdom of the fallen gods. Now, there was a god reviving. Everything made them feel extremely shocked. Wang Xian looked at the deep and dark ancient lands. His eyes were sparkling. He hesitated for a moment, but he didn't rush over to take a look. From the dark ancient lands that appeared one after another, he could sense powerful existences. Some powerful existences might be even stronger than his current strength. Above the dark ancient lands, there were ferocious and terrifying dark demonic beasts. The demonic beasts were similar to the ones that attacked Jiang City yesterday. It's chaotic. Some people on the internet said that the Holy Church, the Pyramid, and the Fire God Palace were all attacked by powerful demon beasts. Some demon beasts even attacked human cities. At this moment, a shocked voice came from a young man's mouth. Oh, really? Could it be that Earth is going to fall into chaos? The expressions of the people around them were awe-inspiring. Yesterday, there was a demonic beast attack on another city. In our east, there was a city where hundreds of thousands of people were killed by demonic beasts. A middle-aged man thought of what happened yesterday, and his expression changed slightly. Yesterday's demonic beast attack on the city seemed to be a premonition. Today, it had completely erupted. This was a disaster for everyone. As for what the Dragon King had said, they didn't dare to guarantee that they would be able to avoid this disaster. Don't worry about what happens next. I will be watching over Jiang City from now on. Wang Xian looked at Old Qin, Old Shui, and the rest who were feeling a little worried. The Earth's metamorphosis was a combination of misfortune and fortune. This was the case for other people. Now that he had returned, it was a heaven-defying great opportunity for the Guan family and the Lan family. With little Xian around, we will feel much more at ease. When everyone heard Wang Xian's words, they immediately looked over. The worry in their hearts immediately disappeared. Although they did not know Wang Xian's actual strength, they were certain that he was not weaker than the gods in the Ling Shao treasured palace. Father-in-law, mother-in-law, Shu Qingyue and the rest are now in a very safe place. Why don't you bring all your relatives there? Wang Xian said to Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue, and the rest parents. A very safe place? When they heard Wang Xian's words, they were slightly stunned. A hesitant look appeared on their faces. That place might be a little far away, but it's 100% safe. If all your relatives go there, I'll get Ao Qitian and Ao Jin to bring you there. Old Shui and Old Qin, you can go there too. You can choose. Wang Xian looked at them and said, Is it very far away? Old Shui and Old Qin were a little reluctant, but they were also a little tempted. Not on Earth. Wang Xian said softly, Not on Earth. Everyone was moved once again. There was a look of hesitation on their faces. If they were to leave Earth and go to an unfamiliar place, they would hesitate again. Let's go over. We can also meet up with Qingyu. Soon, the Lan family had made up their minds. They would be able to see their daughter after leaving this place, so they didn't feel too reluctant. The Guan family also decided to go over and visit Shuqing. However, Old Qin, Old Shui, and the rest hesitated for a moment before rejecting. This place was their root. They had already lived here for more than half of their lives. Moreover, with Wang Xian around in the future, Jiang City would be much safer. After much consideration, they still didn't leave. Only the members of the Guan family and the Lan family decided to go to the Transcendence continent. Wang Xian nodded his head. He didn't have any objections to their choice. At this moment, exquisite food was served in the kitchen. Two little fellows ran over. They pouted their small mouths and glanced at Wang Xian before sitting on his left and right. Everyone began to eat. They had completely forgotten about the loud noises that kept coming from the sky and the battle between the god and the demon god. With the Dragon King here, they were very at ease. Everyone chatted until the afternoon. Qitian, Aojian, bring them to the Transcendence continent. Tell Prime Minister Gue to take good care of them. After chatting for 3 to 4 hours, Wang Xian instructed Ao Qitian and Ao Jian at 3 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's the Dragon King. Ao Qitian and the rest nodded and looked at the more than 100 people from the Guan family of the Lan family. Little Xian, we'll head over first. Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue, and their father waved at Wang Xian. All right, father-in-law. After Earth stabilizes, all of you can return as well. Wang Xian nodded with a smile and gestured to Ao Qitian and the rest. Buzz. Ao Qitian waved his arm and disappeared with all of them in an instant. The Lan family and the Guan family could only feel the scene flash before they realized that they had arrived in the sky above the Pacific Ocean. Looking at this powerful ability, everyone was shocked. This is a teleportation that all godly state experts can do. The Dragon Queens are cultivating now. When they come out of seclusion, they can ignite the divine fire and become gods. Ao Qitian said when he saw everyone's shocked expressions. What? Shu Qingyu and the others are about to become gods. When the Guan family and the Lan family heard this news, their faces were shocked. Then, they revealed an extremely happy expression. To them, becoming a god was an existence that was out of their reach. That was a high and mighty god. The entrance to the other world is this way. As Aochitian said this, he led them to fly down. Roar. However, at this moment, an earth-shaking roar was heard, causing everyone to change their expressions slightly. Aochitian's pupils constricted slightly as he looked in front of him. There, a dark, ancient land slowly appeared. A berserk, dark demon beast that was about 2,000 meters tall appeared in front of him. There was a blood-red vertical eye between his brows, a pair of bone wings, and a long tail. His lizard-like body was filled with sharp spikes. It's the demon god. It's that terrifying demon god. The faces of the Lan family and the Guan family changed dramatically, and they hurriedly shouted, "Roar!" Aochitian saw the demon god, and his eyes flickered with a burning look. Aojian, protect them. I'm going to kill this guy and bring him to the Dragon Palace. Then we can improve again. Aochitian's eyes were filled with excitement and fury. He growled and his body rapidly grew larger. In an instant, he was 2,000 meters in size. His body was surrounded by flames, darkness, and lightning. His eyes, which had 3 Goyu, were filled with pressure and demonic power. Finish him quickly. Aojin reminded Aochitian. Roar. I can finish him in 10 moves with just one wisp of divine fire. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.